Test.
All right.
Administrative meeting for December 17, 2025. First item is to approve the minutes of our meeting of December 10, 2025. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Morning, Mr. Chair. There are 4 items on the consent agenda. Item number 1 is a request from various telecom entities for approval of a transfer of indirect ownership. Item number 2 is a notification of participation in financing arrangements from Shenandoah Cable Television LLC. Item number 3 is a request from VO Wireless LLC to cancel its telecommunications license. And item number 4 is a notification from Just Energy Solutions, Inc., Hudson Energy Services, and Interactive Energy Group LLC of changes to various corporate structures.
Okay, regarding item 1, I move that we note the filing. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
I vote aye. Regarding item 2, I move that we note the filing of Shenandoah Cable Television LLC. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
I vote aye. Item 3, I move we note the filing of VIA Wireless LLC. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
I vote aye. And item 4, I move we note the filing of Just Energy Solutions, Inc., Hudson Energy Services, and Interactive Energy Group, LLC. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe. I vote aye.
We are deferring item number 5 to a future administrative meeting, and we're going to skip item 6 and take item number 7 before that, which consists of revised tariff pages from Chesapeake Utilities of Maryland, Inc.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Cameron Walton on behalf of staff. On November 3rd, 2025, Chesapeake Utilities of Maryland, Worcester County, formerly known as Sandpiper Energy, filed revised tariff pages to update its annual system improvement rate, or SIR. This update will be effective for the 12-month billing period of December 1st, 2025 through November 30th, 2026. The filing proposes a decrease in the current SIR from $0.102 per therm to $0.052 per therm. For customers located within the corporate limits of the town of Ocean City, Maryland, the proposed Ocean City specific SIR would decrease from $0.103 per therm to $0.064 per therm. The SIR is a volumetric charge approved by the Commission in Order Number 85622 and is used to recover costs associated with bare steel pipeline replacement, propane to natural gas distribution conversion, and customer equipment conversions. Staff reviewed the company's rate calculations and found that the SIR methodology remains unchanged from prior approved filings. Staff's Accounting Investigation Division determined that the proposed rates were calculated accurately, and Staff's Engineer Division found that all projects included in the SIR to be acceptable. Accordingly, staff recommends that the Commission accept the filing of the tariff pages for rate schedule SIR effective for the 12-month billing period of December 1st, 2025 through November 30th, 2026. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for staff? Seeing none?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Brian Quinn on behalf of Chesapeake Utilities. We agree with staff's recommendation, here to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Chesapeake? All right, seeing none, I move we accept the tariff pages for rate schedule SIR effective for the 12-month period of December 1, 2025 through November 30, 2026. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Barbe.
Aye.
I vote aye.
And item number 6 consists of a stride filing from Washington Gas Light Company.
I thought we were going to do that last.
We can if you want.
Yeah, why don't we do that last?
Okay.
Let's deal with Maryland Water.
Item number 8 is revised tariff pages from Maryland American Water Company.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. David Valcarangio on behalf of Commission staff. On September 4, 2025, Maryland American filed a request to implement revised tariff pages that would provide the company with the authority to disperse litigation proceeds received from lawsuits against manufacturers of per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, to customers via one-time bill credits. On September 9th, the company provided an updated tariff page in response to concerns raised by staff. Staff believes the company's approach and treatment for handling the proceeds results in a short-time benefit for customers that result in customers paying more for the facilities over the lifetime of the PFAS treatment facilities the company has stated it will be building to remediate the existence of PFAS in the Bel Air system's water supply. Staff therefore recommends that the Commission reject MAWC's tariff designed to provide bill credits to customers and instead direct the company to either credit proceeds received against the cost of PFAS removal facilities that exist or are in the process of being constructed, or place the proceeds in a deferred account until such time as the PFAS removal project is initiated. On December 12th, Maryland American filed a response to the comments provided by staff and appears to indicate that its preferred strategy of rendering bill credits is the most advantageous means of utilizing the PFAS litigation proceeds because it provides an immediate credit to customers. While staff acknowledges that a bill credit provides customers with an immediate short-term benefit, dispersing the PFAS litigation proceeds through bill credits rather than applying them against PFAS removal costs will cause all customers to pay an increased amount in rates for return and depreciation of the facilities that will be built for PFAS removal than customers would pay if PFAS litigations were applied to offset PFAS removal costs. The strategy of dispersing credits of proceeds to customers necessarily assumes that customers receiving the bill credits are the same customers that will be paying for PFAS removal facility for years to come. However, customers that receive a credit could leave the system, while customers that move into the system move into the service area after the credits are dispersed would be forced to pay for the entire cost of the plant without receiving a benefit of the bill credits. Staff believes applying proceeds as an offset to plant will provide intergenerational equity for customers. The bill credit approach would deprive future customers of benefits from PFAS litigation proceeds while settling them for years to come with paying higher rates for recovery of PFAS removal that could have been reduced under staff approach. Applying the funds received against the cost of PFAS removal ensures that all customers today and tomorrow will share in reduced costs for PFAS removal facilities. If the $418,000 in net proceeds received as of today is returned to customers as a one-time bill credit rather than being applied as a PFAS removal cost, offset to PFAS removal costs, rates will need to be increased by approximately $50,000 to pay for a facility, which would mean each customer would pay an extra $9.44 per year for the PFAS removal facilities. This is hardly equitable for customers that did not receive the benefit of the bill credit. I want to provide kind of a framework for the increasing plant costs that Maryland American has and is likely to face in the near term. In Maryland American's last case number 9487, Maryland American had a rate base of approximately $25 million. In that case, they rolled in their impoundment structure, approximately $16 million, giving them approximately a rate base of $40.9 million. In the current case, 9808, Maryland American has a rate base of approximately $41 million. Now, the company's on record as saying that the PFAS facilities it expects to build will cost approximately $16 million, giving them a rate base of $59 million, thereby increasing over 12 years approximately $30 million. Maryland American also asserts the bill credit approach that it advocates would be easier to administer. However, ease of administration should not justify an approach that would leave customers for higher rates than necessary. Staff therefore recommends that the Commission reject MAWC's tariff that provides bill credit to customers and direct the proceeds received by MAWC from PFAS litigation be used to offset the cost of the PFAS removal facilities that will be constructed or directed to a deferred account until such time as the PFAS facility is constructed. However, if the Commission favors the distribution of proceeds through one-time bill credits, staff has reviewed the company's revised tariff and finds it to be acceptable. This concludes my opening remarks. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Okay, questions for staff? Commissioner McLean?
Morning, sir. Do you agree with OPC and the company that staff's position or your favored proposal is more complex and could result in additional litigation costs in future rate cases?
No.
Why not?
I kind of view it as the proceeds would be directed. I don't think it would result in litigation. The proceeds would come in kind of like a contribution in aid of construction, be directed right against that plant. I think it would be the easiest and most advantageous way for customers today and tomorrow to share in the cost of the facilities. It will remarkably reduce the cost that customers pay today and tomorrow for the cost of those facilities, rather than give a one-time benefit to customers that are on the system 60 days out from today.
Okay. Thank you, sir. One other question. Your recommendation is to either book the proceeds received from the litigation as credits against the future projects, or to put them into a deferral account. What's the difference in that in layman's terms?
In layman's terms, my understanding, they don't have an active construction project in place today. The records indicate that they plan to build a facility over the next 5 years, approximately $15 to $60 million. So I said, since you don't have a project initiated, the easiest way to do that would be to book those proceeds into a deferral account to hold those funds until such time as the company begins construction.
Okay. All right. So it's more of an accounting
Yes.
distinction? Okay. Thank you, sir. That's all I have.
Any other questions for staff? All right.
Good morning, Chair Hoover and Commissioners. Brock Miller on behalf of the Office of People's Counsel. As we stated in our short comment letter, the Office of People's Counsel recommends that the Commission accept Maryland American Water Company's tariff proposal to distribute PFAS litigation proceeds to customers in the form of bill credits. The company's proposal is simple and straightforward and allows customers to benefit from the proceeds without added administrative burden, and it also gives the customers a noticeable and meaningful bill impact today instead of burying the benefit in small increments over potentially decades to pay for projects that might be projected or proposed but are not clearly in the works yet. So thank you. That's really all I have to say, and available for questions.
Any questions for OPC? Commissioner?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. We've heard from the staff that the settlement would require multiple, potentially additional disbursements over the next several years. Does People's Counsel have any concerns that customers might be getting little bits of credits over the course of several years and without really understanding what that's supposed to be?
Meaning without the customers?
I'm sorry, customers, yes.
So my understanding is that the company would plan to put a bill note saying what each credit is for. Obviously, as the settlements are approved, that's when the credits will be rolling in, and whenever the money will be rolling in and the credits will be applied to customers. But it will be sort of a larger credit each time instead of these small cents of credits, over decades.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, Commissioner McLean.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
You referenced the potential for litigation over these pot of costs. Is there a concern by OPC that accepting your your position and the companies is going to ultimately result in more rate cases?
I mean, I don't know that it will result in more rate cases. That's not really something that we had a concern about. The company has filed pretty. They've been spread out over time, and the plans that staff cited, these proposed, investments, I don't know if there's any concrete plans to actually do those. As I think we mentioned in our letter also, it's not clear what the regulatory landscape is going to look like at the federal level about requirements for PFAS and PFAS cleanups. So we're not really sure about what the future is going to hold with that. So we don't even know if those costs will even need to be spent, or to what extent they'll need to be spent on any potential projects in the future. So we're not sure, if that's going to require more rate cases to recoup those costs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? All right, let me turn to the company.
Thank you, Chair Hoover, Commissioners. David Bugelmans on behalf of Maryland American Water Company. I'm also joined this morning in the audience by Mr. Chris Arfa, Senior Director of Corporate Counsel at the company. We appreciate staff's review of the company's proposed plus tariff and also OPC support this morning. As was indicated by staff over the past month, staff did provide feedback on the language of the tariff. We made some revisions so it was clear and would work more effectively. We filed those revisions on December 9th. So if the commission does decide to approve this today, that tariff is ready to go. While we appreciate staff's collaboration on that, we respectfully disagree with staff's ultimate conclusion to recommend denial of the tariff this morning. Instead of approval, staff recommends the creation of a deferral account or to credit settlement proceeds against the costs of specific projects, and states that the company's plus tariff would provide only occasional short-term benefits. That is not the case. On December 12th, the company filed an analysis with the commission that shows the net present value of applying the proceeds received to date to future capital costs is roughly equivalent to the value of an immediate credit to customers. However, an immediate credit would provide customers approximately $81 today just with the current settlement proceeds. The alternative proposed by staff would produce an average residential bill reduction of only 25 cents per month from now until 2091, which is a period of about 66 years. So this contrast underscores why the company proposed to distribute PFAS litigation proceeds directly to customers through bill credits. There's a number of reasons for this. First, direct bill credits allow for rapid distribution of funds to customers with limited regulatory or administrative costs. The plus tariffs formula accommodates periodic and sometimes unpredictable proceeds, so credits can be applied as funds arrive. Second, the plus tariff provides funds to customers quickly and lets them decide how to use that value. They can bank the value of those credits to offset higher costs later, including costs that may be incurred due to PFAS treatment investments, or use it today for another priority. Third, credits make the benefits of these litigation proceeds tangible. Customers often experience the regulatory process simply through rate increases, but this would be a mechanism that would provide immediate credits to customers. And then fourth, tying proceeds to specific PFAS costs is complicated. And there's also an issue of, as OPC and staff, or I think it was primarily OPC, acknowledged, there is some uncertainty about the continuation of PFAS treatment requirements moving forward. So there's a complication there in terms of if those regulations no longer are effective. So for all these reasons, the company respectfully continues to request that the commission approve this proposed tariff. I would note the regulatory commissions of 6 other jurisdictions have approved similar tariffs for the company's affiliates in those jurisdictions. With that said, if the commission does decide to reject the plus tariff this morning, we would respectfully request the commission to direct the company to place proceeds into a deferral account that would hold such proceeds until a PFAS project has been initiated. The company's reviewed the 2 options provided by staff. We think that's the most workable out of those 2. This is ultimately a policy decision for the commission. We think our proposal is the best policy, and we're happy to answer any questions about the tariff that's before you this morning.
Okay, questions for the company? Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning.
Morning.
You mentioned that consumers would see the benefit of this type of settlement as opposed to just seeing rate increases. Have customers been made aware of the fact that there could be a credit coming their way as a result of this litigation settlement?
Not yet. I do know that there is a plan to communicate if this is approved to customers that, you know, there is this tariff and that there is this mechanism, but not yet, Commissioner.
Okay, so they're not expecting a credit and would be, I guess, wondering why they didn't receive it if the commission said to proceed as staff had recommended.
Yes, that's right. I don't think there's an expectation out there that you know, this credit is, you know, something that will be approved. So I don't think there's that dynamic, Commissioner.
Okay. We've also heard some staff's recommendation relies in part on the concept of future projects that MAWC would implement. And you're stating here today that there's nothing scheduled currently. You don't have a project that's pending or that would be that's structured and ready to move forward.
Well, why don't you come up?
Yeah,
Well, Mr. Harp,
Sure.
Can I speak to that?
Well, let me start with them, then I'll come back to you. So you go ahead and just tell us who you are and
Thank you. Christopher Arfa, A-R-F-A-A, for the company, its representative. I don't have particular details on the engineering, but we are certainly planning projects to deal with PFAS remediation. There's just nothing has been, they're still in the preliminary planning stages, but we're certainly being active and working on this challenge, but there aren't specific budgeted projects of the sort that I think were the target of the first of the two recommendations by staff. So that's why we would prefer a deferral fund if you're going to go that route.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, should we hear from staff at this point? Or?
well, actually, does anybody else have any questions for the company? Okay. All right. So
So I wanted to point out, while there hasn't been a project that has been initiated, MAWC's witness in the current rate case has indicated they plan to build a facility over the next 5 years, approximately $15 to $16 million. And we know, based on our records, that the company has or will receive approximately $6.5 million. I think it's a loan from the state revolving drinking fund. So the state is already in the process of giving money to lessen the burden of these facilities.
okay. So actually, I have one question for the company. If this proposed rate credit, when would it go out, approximately?
To defer to my colleague again.
Okay.
It would go out within a matter of weeks. It's a question of providing the notice in the bill and getting into the billing
So-
cycle.
All right. Not to pin you down, but weeks like 2 weeks or more like 4 weeks?
I would say 4 to 6. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand. So, all
My belief it would be 4 to 6 weeks kind of thing, or maybe 4 weeks.
right. So
It really
for the
depends on-
end of January, more or less. So.
Well, I certainly by then. I would say before then. It's
Yeah.
a question of just sort of firing up the billing machines, as they say.
Yeah, yeah, no, I understand. So, okay, all right, thank you. Sure, yeah.
Mr. Bugelmans? Quick question for you. Is there any significance in terms of the date of the filing of the rate case and then this subsequently requesting a credit? Is there any significance, or is that just purely?
I think they're completely disconnected. That's my understanding.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Mr.
so,
Can I just probably?
oh, sure.
Excuse me, sorry. Drew McAuliffe, good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Drew McAuliffe on behalf of staff. One important point I want to note that Mr. Valacrenji was alluding to was if the customers receive the credit now, they have not paid for any PFAS costs as of yet. So they'll be getting a credit for something they have not paid for. And again, as Mr. Valacrenji identified, future customers would then be harmed for costs that they're now paying for that these current customers have not if the credit goes out now. And I just wanted to note, we don't agree with the company's analysis that they filed either. I don't think a net present value analysis is appropriate. It would be a bill impact analysis. And as Mr. Valacrenji noted, their rate base will increase by approximately a third because of this $15 to $16 million project. So you could expect rates to increase by a similar magnitude. So it's also staff's opinion that giving an $80 credit now, 5 years from now, customers frankly probably won't care if their rates have gone up 30% that you gave them a credit 5 years ago for $80. So just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. McAuliffe? Alrighty. Okay. Well, I think there's enough concern between the yin and the yang of the proposals that I think we're going to take this under advisement and issue something after we've had a chance to look at it a little closer. So.
Thank you, Chair.
And item 6 is a stride filing from Washington Gas Light Company.
Good morning, Chair Hoover and members of the Commission. Staff presents Tanika Alexander of the Accounting Investigation Division, Evan Thomas of the Telecommunication, Gas and Water Division, and Neguse Tesfaye of the Engineering Division. Washington Gas filed the proposed calendar year 2026 Stride 3 project list and the current factor representing the recovery of expected Stride 3 cost in the calendar year 2026. Washington Gas Stride 3 encompass 6 distribution replacement programs, including 1 new program, Program 6, to replace low pressure mains and services, and 5 transmission replacement programs. The project list and current factor Stride rider being proposed in this filing represent the 3rd year of Washington Gas Stride 3 and include projects carried over from the calendar year 2025. Washington Gas proposed this time a total of 151 projects in the calendar year 2026 Stride 3 project list in all Stride programs, and none proposed in transmission program 2 and 5. The total estimated cost of the calendar year 2026 Stride 3 project is approximately $60 million, which includes the cost of carryover projects added to the calendar year 2026 project list from the calendar year 2025. Washington Gas is planning to retire 5.4 miles of mains, to install 3.3 miles of new mains, and to remediate 2,307 affected services, using part of the proposed budget in the calendar year 2026. Staff reviewed the company's development of their proposed Stride surcharge for January 1, 2026 until December 31st, 2026, and found no issues. The rightmost column of table number 7 of staff's comment shows the proposed monthly surcharge for each customer class. These surcharges are based on the company's proposed Stride revenue requirement of $21,227,623, supported by staff's accounting division. Staff recommend that the Commission approve Washington Gas proposed calendar year 2026 Stride 3 project list and accept the company's proposed Stride surcharge as shown in column D of table number 7 to be effective and billed beginning January 2026. Staff are available to answer any question you may have. Thank you.
Okay, questions for staff. Commissioner Sussman.
Good morning.
Morning.
So you are aware of a letter order that we issued on October 21st?
Yes, true.
Okay. And in which we directed WGL within 60 days to justify its current Stride 3 plan and how it complies with the NGEA.
Correct.
Okay. The current WGL project list, is that in compliance with NGEA?
Not yet.
Well, not yet, as
Staff during the review, staff asked the DR question to the company to clarify if the calendar year 2026 Stride project list comply with the new law. The company said they have, based on the commission order, they have the 60 days to respond and file compliance project list. When they do file, I think it will be due on December 2025.
Right. So I guess I'm trying to understand, I mean, if staff knows that this compliance filing is coming up, like
Correct.
the 20th or 21st.
Correct.
Okay. You're asking us now to approve their 2026 plan, knowing that they haven't actually done what we had asked them to do, which was to justify their list based on this new statute.
I believe the commission order said that Washington Gas can continue on ongoing Stride works, and we are aware that they have to comply with the new NEGA new Stride laws, and when the time comes when they file, we are aware that we have to review and make a decision of,
Right, but you're not asking us to, are you saying that the 2026 project list only contains ongoing work, consistent with this footnote that is in our letter order?
Yeah, in my understanding, ongoing I'm not in position, to interpret the law, but my understanding as engineer, Stride 3 already, the whole package is approved for 5 years. So there is a new law coming. Of course, the company should comply with that. We are aware of that, and when the compliance filing comes, also additionally, we'll be reviewing, make sure that the company comply with the new law.
I guess I'm just trying to, okay, if we were to approve this 2026 project list, what does that mean? I mean, we have this compliance filing coming in next week where they're supposed to be, and I'm assuming it's going to be the same project list that we're looking at now is going to be in that compliance filing, but we have the additional review of the new law and making sure that it's consistent with the new law. What does that mean in terms of what you're asking us to do right now?
Yeah, Commissioner, I agree with what you said. When they are going to file the compliance filing for the calendar year 2026 Stride project list, staff need to make sure that they comply with the new law.
But if we've already approved the plan, then what does that mean in terms of our review of the compliance filing? How does that affect what you're asking us to do today, which is to approve the plan?
I think the position of the staff would be that the company should comply also with the new NEGA.
Right, but what happens if we look at what with their compliance filing and find that they have not met any of the conditions for the new act? then what does that mean in terms of what you're asking us to do today? You're asking us to approve their 2026 project plan.
Right.
And so, and if we issue an order saying, yes, we approve it, and then next week we look at the compliance filing and say, well, no, I'm sorry, you have not met any of the conditions for this new statute.
Yeah, I would like the commission to approve the calendar year 2026 stride plan contingent to the compliance filing.
Okay, but why don't we just wait until the compliance filing?
Because by stride law, the company file every year stride project list for the coming year, and that was from our executive director office assigned to the staff to review, and there was nothing which tell us to stop reviewing.
Well, except that you know that they're about to submit a compliance filing. So I guess my question is from staff's position, would this be a problem with the stride law if we were to say we're not gonna make a decision on their 2026 project list until we review the compliance filing? Maybe Mr. Dean can respond to that.
I don't think so.
No, I mean, I guess this is maybe a legal question. So from staff's position, is that going to present a problem?
It shouldn't present a problem because the new statute says the commission can review, previously approved work also.
Okay. I guess, Mr. Chairman, I'm not really understanding why we'd be making any decisions about this if we know that there's a compliance filing coming in next week, and then we can review what we intended, which was to look at the stride law against what the General Assembly wanted us to do. Otherwise, I guess I really wouldn't even understand what the consequences are to approving something and then having to review it again next week. That doesn't make sense to me. But that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, Commissioner Sushman asked the question that I was looking at.
Okay. Ditto. Okay. All right. Let me hear from OPC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Ryan Shu on behalf of the Office of People's Counsel. Well, as the questioning just sort of illuminated, quite simply, it's illogical to approve an entire year's worth of stride projects, business as usual stride projects, while a review of the plan that those projects are based on is, ongoing, is underway. The NGA requires, among many other things, an analysis of non-replacement alternatives, right? That analysis hasn't been done yet. And so, in essence, we'd have no way of knowing. So if you approved the project list now, you'd have no way of knowing whether any of the projects on this project list could or should have been done in a non-pipeline alternative instead. And so, approving it, you would basically just it'd almost be contravening the law of requiring approval and analysis of non-pipeline alternatives. When you'd have projects that have gone forward that could have been done in non-pipeline alternatives, but the analysis was never done, and it's kind of really purely illogical. Moreover, PUA 4210E6 states that for a gas company to recover costs associated with eligible infrastructure replacement projects, that is, stride projects, their stride plan has to demonstrate customer benefits, analysis of non-pipeline alternatives, etc. This is one of the new provisions from the NGEA, and so without that analysis having been done under the law, we think that OPC believes that WGL cannot receive stride surcharge cost recovery, as those demonstrations have not been made yet under the current law. OPC acknowledges that it may be impracticable in some circumstances to halt all stride work, and thus our recommendation in our letter is that where projects where ground has actually been broken, that is, ground is actually dug up and they're like midway through replacing a pipe or something, and where it would actually be impractical to stop work, because there could be scenarios where maybe only like a little bit of the ground is open, and so you could stop work there. But otherwise, we would suggest that as of today, any projects where ground has been broken as such and stopping work would be impractical can go forward, but then to halt future STRIDE projects until the NGEA review has been done. And so, as a result, also in this filing is WGL's surcharge, 2026 STRIDE surcharge. We'd recommend, as accordingly, that along with that, the proposed surcharge includes their proposed surcharge here includes the future 2026 projects. We advise the Commission require WGL to refile that surcharge, including only past projects and the projects where ground has already been broken as of today and are allowed to continue forward. Alternatively, we also suggest that the Commission could defer its decision on this 2026 project list and surcharge until the NGEA review has been completed. In that case, we would recommend that the Commission make clear that only projects that were on the 2025 project list be allowed to keep going forward. And I'm available for any questions.
Okay, questions for OPC? Mr. Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, good morning.
Good morning.
We've heard the company say in the past that postpones or delay for projects cause additional challenges for them in terms of paperwork that's been approved, scheduling that's been done to coordinate with the local governments, for example, idling of contractors, things of that sort. Does People's Council have any concerns that that could potentially impact on some of the projects that would be authorized and allowed under NGEA if the company is required to stop or delay work while we do a full review of the likes that People's Council is recommending?
I don't believe that that concern justifies going full forward on all engines forward on business as usual STRIDE projects. So in that sense, no. I mean, I can see where there may be they might have to redo some paperwork with local municipalities or have potential issues like that, but I don't think that means that we should continue forward with all STRIDE projects without the NGEA review. I don't think that makes sense either.
So is it People's Council's concern that the filings that or the plan that the compliance plan that we're expecting next week, we just need to have a review of that, or did People's Council see particular projects or anything on the proposed list that brought some concern to the People's Council?
So you're saying whether there were particular plans on the project list, or sorry, particular projects on the project list that were of particular concern, or I don't know that it was necessarily that. It's more that the entire project list itself is based on the company's prior STRIDE plan, which was again based on just fully replacing everything, which isn't what the NGEA requires. I think that was our main concern.
Okay, so it wasn't any particular projects. It was more just we have a compliance process that we need to take a look at first.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? Okay, let me turn to WGL.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Spencer Nichols on behalf of Washington Gas. I will just take a brief moment to introduce two new faces. With us today is our new Senior Vice President of Regulatory Affairs, Rochelle Whitaker, and our new General Counsel, Megan Roberts-Satinsky. And I believe you're familiar with Mr. Lawson and Mr. Ackes. Mr. Ackes is from our Construction Management Department, and Mr. Lawson is from our Regulatory Affairs Business Unit. I just want to be clear, we are just here today to ask, like we've been here every year for about the past 10 years, that the Commission note the company's annual STRIDE project list under a previously approved STRIDE plan. We are not asking the commission to approve a new STRIDE plan. Washington Gas has always been required by the commission to file its annual project list on November 1st, and the Next Gen Act did not change that. And the commission did not order us to refrain from filing this project list, and OPC did not recommend that we did not file this project list. What I understand OPC is saying in its written comments that were just filed this Monday is that the commission should use this fairly routine administrative item as an opportunity to issue an order to stop all STRIDE construction work in 2026, or at least new construction work that OPC qualifies as groundbreaking, by denying the project list in this application until the company shows its current STRIDE plan, which was approved before the Next Gen Energy Act, that it complies with the Next Gen Energy Act. What OPC has not represented, however, but as Mr. Dean alluded to, the Next Gen Act does not apply retroactively. It does not require the commission to revisit a previously approved STRIDE plan, and the Next Gen Act does not require the commission to stop all STRIDE work in 2026 or at any point since the Act became effective in June, if and when the commission decides to review a previously approved STRIDE plan. The Next Gen Act does include some new requirements for the information that needs to be included in STRIDE plans, but it does not say anything about the annual project list or previously approved plans, or when the commission needs to review a previously approved plan, or what should happen to ongoing work if the commission decides to review a previously approved plan. And that is because, as Mr. Dean mentioned, well before the Next Gen Act amended the STRIDE statute clearly provided that the commission has the authority to review a previously approved STRIDE plan. And the statute does not limit when the commission can do that. And so it makes sense, and it made sense, that the commission's order to the company to file a Next Gen Energy Act compliance filing specifically states that until such time as the commission may modify the company's current plan following the company's filing, this order does not affect ongoing work under the company's previously approved STRIDE 3 plan. Despite what OPC says, I don't know how the company can interpret that to mean anything other than what it says. So my main point, which I think your advisors will hopefully agree with, is that approving the project list now does not undermine the commission's ability to review the current STRIDE 3 plan once it has had time and the opportunity to review the company's compliance filing that will be filed in just a few days. So we respectfully disagree with OPC's assertion that the Next Gen Act somehow prohibits the commission from approving the project list, and we're available to answer any questions.
Okay, questions for WGL, Commissioner McLean.
Good morning, sir. What's the harm if we wait to see your compliance filing, sir?
I can't say for sure because it's going to depend exactly what the commission orders. But I think it is safe to say it will cause disruption and inefficiency. As I tried to explain, and I know the company has explained to OPC repeatedly during the prolonged discussions we had last year and the year before regarding the customer notice issue that OPC raised, a lot of work goes into developing the project list in the form of design, planning, permitting, coordinating, and managing the company's internal and external construction teams. And the external contractors also have their own management and planning that they need to do. So the part of the project that actually involves breaking ground, as OPC refers to it, that's just part of the work that goes into a project. The work is ongoing in the form of permitting, planning. It's just the actual construction, actual labor that occurs during the calendar year. So the disruption that would occur is the commission breaking its precedent over the past 10 years or so. I think both internally and the company's outside contractors have come to reasonably expect that the commission will not suddenly order that any new groundbreaking cannot occur while the commission is reviewing this compliance filing. So I don't really know, I can't really tell you what specific projects might get pulled back or what resources might get reallocated without affirming that the commission is going to entertain the possibility of issuing a stop work order for Maryland STRIDE projects.
Thank you, sir. And is there, a risk to say, if we agree with you and staff and you go forward and then we have concerns with your compliance filing, are we going to be potentially in the same boat?
No, I don't think so. I think as the Next Gen Energy Act makes clear, and the current STRIDE law makes clear, you can review a STRIDE plan, a previously approved STRIDE plan, and it doesn't say when you can do that, or there's no limits as to when you can do that. So in the event that would happen, if you found that the company's filing was lacking in any way, that it failed to meet whatever standard the commission sets for providing that new information required of the Next Gen Act, we would ask to submit testimony or be given the opportunity to actually meet that standard. So for example, the term alternatives to replacement and cost effectiveness, those aren't defined in the statute, and OPC has provided no guidance as to how to analyze that. So to the extent the commission were to find that the company did not provide sufficient information regarding alternatives to replacement or did not sufficiently evaluate cost effectiveness, as that term is used in the statute, we would ask the opportunity to meet that standard. But we don't know what that standard is right now.
Sure, no, agreed 100% with your concerns, but, testimony, all, things that happen down the line, that's still going to impact the work that the contractors and then the company would be otherwise scheduled to be doing, correct?
No, if the commission, if I understand your question, if the commission approves the 2026 project list and the commission finds that our compliance filing is not sufficient, we think we can meet whatever standard the commission articulates for being compliant with the Next Gen Act, and that would not interfere with the ongoing construction work as long as the project list has been approved.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Mr. Barbe? No. Mr. Suchman?
What are you asking us to do today? I was a little confused when you first started talking about what's before us. Are you asking us, are you saying you're just doing something in compliance with STRIDE law, but you're not asking us to do anything?
I'm asking the commission, as we do every year, to note that the company made its obligated filing on November 1st of the annual project list, and to approve that project list and to reject what OPC attorneys put forth in comments on Monday, that the commission should not approve the project
Okay,
list.
so you're asking us to approve your project list?
Yes, Your Honor, or approve that groundbreaking construction work on the project does not need to be halted as OPC has requested.
Okay. Just to be clear, you're asking us to approve your 2026 project list?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And you're aware of the letter order that we issued October 21st?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And is the current project list in compliance with the Next Generation Energy Act?
The issue there, Commissioner Suchman, is that the Next Gen Energy Act does not refer to project lists. It refers to plans. And the filing, we believe, you'll receive in a couple days will show that the company's STRIDE 3 plan, of which the project list is a part and derived from, complies with the Next Gen Act. So I don't think the question is whether the project list contains, for example, a analysis for each project of the customer benefit. That's already been included in the STRIDE plan, and no project list has ever included the various requirements on an individualized basis, except for the risk assessment analysis.
Okay, so when you're going to be submitting your filing next week, it's going to go through your project list and explain why they are in compliance with the NGEA?
It's going to explain why the STRIDE 3 plan is in compliance with the NGEA, because the NGEA is focused on STRIDE plans.
Okay, and knowing that you had this compliance filing that had to be submitted, why didn't you include that analysis in the project proposal that you submitted to us for approval?
Well, one, the commission's order came out, the commission's order to make a compliance filing came out just a few days before the compliance filing was due. Two, the commission's order didn't address the annual project list at all, or ask us to submit or resubmit a project list with additional information beyond what has been well established that projects lists contain. And third, the commission made quite clear in its order to do a compliance filing that that order should not affect ongoing projects under
Okay,
the
so
company.
everything on your 2026 list is an ongoing project?
I would argue yes, if or at least heavily so.
Okay.
Because there's a lot
So,
that goes.
so if we were to go through every single, how many projects are on your project list?
It's going to depend on the program.
Around 151.
151. Okay, so every one of those 151 is, you've broken ground.
No, I don't. I think what I'm representing, and Mr. Ackes can correct me if I'm wrong. None of them have broken ground, but all of them have had substantial work done in preparing for those projects, in permitting, in design, in planning, and management. And that work is happening still. The company does have to, for example, make sure the permits are in place ahead of schedule so that when the project list is approved, groundbreaking can begin.
Okay, so are you suggesting that every one of those 150 whatever projects is ongoing and therefore cannot be stopped?
I don't, without having to look at, I can't say that with certainty, Commissioner Suchman. We'd have to go through and do an evaluation of where exactly in the pre-groundbreaking process each project is at. And that's not something the Commission has previously required to include in the project list.
Well, but we've never been in this kind of situation where we actually have a compliance filing asking that you actually look more closely into what you're proposing and how it meets certain conditions. So this is so we can't really look to what's been done in the past, knowing that you were going to have to make a compliance filing. And I know you only had a couple of days, but there were things that you could have done to bring your plan closer to what you would be, unless the compliance filing is going to simply say everything that you've proposed in your project plan is consistent with the Next Generation Act.
You made a few points there, but I guess I would just respond to the first point that I do believe our construction management and engineering professional staff would agree that any project that is in the pre-construction phase is an ongoing project. But, for a project schedule.
Okay, so what is a project not an ongoing project?
I'd have to go back and consult with our engineers and construction
Well,
management
don't you have an engineer here?
If you could repeat your question.
Okay, when is a project not an ongoing project?
So good afternoon, good morning.
Can you tell us who you are?
Wayne Ackes with Washington Gas. I'm the Director of Construction Program Strategy and Management. So to answer your question, a project is not ongoing before it goes through the selection process. So when we run our Jan risk model and go through the project selection process, that's when it actually starts. That's when projects are identified, risk analysis is done, the risk reduced per dollar that help prioritize this project, which I believe is still in the NGA. That's one of the requirements.
So that's
done in that phase. as well.
And when it's in that phase, it's considered an ongoing project.
Yes.
Okay, so back up and no, don't leave. Okay, so back up from there and tell me when a project goes from not an ongoing project to an ongoing project.
So as we're doing our analysis to create our project list, once the project list, the project's been prioritized and selected based on the commission-approved expenditure for that given year.
So you'll have a whole list of projects.
Yes.
And how many can those? How many hundreds of different projects?
It could be hundreds, but we go down and prioritize the projects till we reach the spending cap approved by the commission for that given year. and that's when that process goes, engineering starts at that point.
Okay.
So we already have done that.
But you understand what I'm asking. I'm asking, at what stage does a project go from not being an ongoing project to being an ongoing project? If you can sort of, draw a line, is it when you are prioritizing?
So ongoing is not a term that we use. So when we go through a project development process, let me go back and say the term, see if we can relate a little bit to.
No. The problem is that ongoing has become an issue in this proceeding. And because your company has said that it is allowed to continue what are ongoing projects. And so I'm trying to figure out from the company how you define ongoing.
Ongoing has started once we have identified the projects and engineering activities has started. Every project that's on that list have already started engineering activities.
If you've identified the project but have not started engineering, is that an ongoing project?
If I have identified and not started engineering, it's not an ongoing project. So each one of these projects that are on that list have already been identified and already ongoing, whether engineering, permitting, and coordination with local.
Okay, so the fact that the project is on a list does not mean it's an ongoing project.
It absolutely is ongoing because it's on the list. So we had to do engineering to get it on the list. So we had to do engineering work to get it on the list and
Okay,
do analysis.
where is it before it's on the list? Do you have a pre-list? Do you understand what you're relying on a term, ongoing, to justify why you should continue those projects. And I'm trying to figure out what that means, and I'm still not there yet.
You can step in. So a project is not ongoing, but so I would say before the projects are identified to be worked in that given year. So before that is not an ongoing project because we have not started any engineering activity on that project.
Yes, but have you identified the project?
No, we have a list based on our risk ranking tool, and then once we identify the projects, then it starts that. That's when the
So as soon as you pick a project and say, we're going to go ahead with that, that becomes ongoing.
once the engineering activity has started on those, yes.
And so ongoing could be simply, we're going to start engineering, and so you contact the engineering department and say, why don't you start engineering on this? Does that become an ongoing project?
So once the project has been identified, then engineering begins.
And as soon as, at that moment where you send an email to somebody and say, let's start engineering on this, at that moment it becomes ongoing.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So next week we'll get the compliance filing from WGL. Have you spent any time thinking about what the process for review will look like from the Commission's perspective and from other parties' perspective?
I think it's going to be mainly or heavily a legal analysis combined with an engineering analysis. For example, what does the statute define as a replacement to alternatives or an alternative to replacement, and what actual established practices actually exists or realistically fall within the meaning of alternatives to replacement.
So are there any time limitations that could impact projects either that are on the list or not, that the Commission needs to keep in mind or consider as part of that review process?
Only that if the project list is not approved, the company can't begin construction work on those projects. But again, if the Commission's review determines that the company hasn't sufficiently provided the information required of the Next Gen Energy Act, the Commission has the authority to revise the STRIDE plan and to adjust rates, adjust the stride surcharge accordingly, depending on the commission's reasons for doing so.
Well,
The only time concern I'd be concerned about is if projects are delayed because the stride project the stride project list is not approved. I'm not out there doing construction work, so the lawyers and the regulatory affairs staff that will be dealing with the commission's review and responding to OPC's comments. That work can go on simultaneously with the construction work.
okay, so you're giving us a little bit of a spoiler for your filing next week by suggesting that it's focused primarily on the plan, the stride plan that was approved, I guess, several months ago, as opposed to the individual project lists. Did I hear that correctly, that that's the approach the company's taking in the compliance filing?
Yes, because that's what the law, our interpretation of the law is, and I think a pretty easy interpretation.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to make sure that what we are going to get next week will help us with the issue that's in front of us today. If you're filing next week, and again, I know it's a spoiler, I know we don't have it, but if your filing next week is focused on the overall plan, but in front of us we have a request to approve the current project list, I'm hopeful, and you don't really have to answer this, but I'm hopeful that it will give us the detail and information we need to be quick about reviewing what you filed and receiving comments from parties, etc., so that we can reach whatever conclusion the commission needs to reach. I'm trying to read some of the tea leaves here, or smell them, or captain as it is, and trying to understand exactly what might be happening coming in the future. And I'm a little nervous, so hopefully what I'm hearing is not what I'm hearing. But
Understood, Commissioner. Another spoiler alert. I don't think the company is going to say that it's likely that the commission can conduct its compliance review quickly. OPC has quite clearly made its intention known that it and other interveners want to file responsive comments, to which I'm sure the company is going to be asked to file replies and request perhaps an evidentiary hearing.
okay, so I guess finally, and I wouldn't do honor to this seat if I didn't point this out, that the company, of course, as we all know, STRIDE is a form of a limited form of an A4, alternate form of rate making, to give you some more real-time recovery, limited real-time recovery for some of your projects. But certainly any projects that are necessary and have to be completed can still be done. The company still has the authority, and I don't think the commission would ever say don't do work that is necessary for purposes of safety, etc. So I don't think the company disagrees with that, and I don't believe any of the parties do as well.
Understood, Commissioner.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So I understand that, the engineering, permitting, and other work on these projects is a year-round activity, but is the actual construction a year-round activity, or do you do this in certain seasons?
It's year-round. My understanding, of course, is that during the better weather months, the activity is heightened.
But there's not a time when, because I guess what I'm thinking about is when the state builds roads and does road projects, they tend to do that in the non-winter months because of, the problems with dealing with weather. But you're telling me your company does these projects every month of the year?
Every month of the year, yes.
Okay, all right. So the other question is, you talked about the company's going to make this compliance filing that you will think, meets the new requirements of the law. But as you've just indicated, it's probably hopelessly optimistic to think that the other parties involved in this proceeding, OPC and potentially staff, are going to say that your plan does, in fact, comply with the law. And as you said, there'll be probably comments from them, changes suggested that you're going to want to respond to. So this is going to go on for a while. So I guess I'm a little concerned that if we approve the project list, that we're sort of putting the cart before the horse, since, we now have to sort of deal with a new standard for what applies for Stride. Because, the General Assembly obviously decided that the current process for Stride wasn't working. And so they made changes to try to, I think what was described, sort of narrowly focus Stride projects on projects that are related to safety and reduction of methane, and that the current process was a little too open-ended. So it's going to be incumbent on us to try and figure out how that, gets applied to the process that we've used for approving these plans going forward. So it seems to me that, us approving a project list and sort of sending you on your merry way to start doing all this, when we may have this fundamental change in what qualifies under the Stride law, again, it is sort of putting the cart before the horse.
I think what we're saying is not approving the annual project list before the commission has actually reviewed the compliance filing. That would be putting the cart before the horse.
But won't it cause the company even more problems if we go through this sort of stop-start process? I mean, if we approve the project list today and you start, working away on all these things, and then we have the proceeding to decide what the new Stride plan is going to look like, and if that causes an impact on projects, are you going to be put in the position of having to pull the plug on projects that were on the project list because they no longer fit the rudiments of the plan under the new law that authorizes the approval of plans?
The problem, Mr. Chair, is pretty simple. The problem is if we don't have long advance notice that Stride construction cannot continue in Maryland, or at least not under the Stride program that contemplates a surcharge. As I mentioned earlier, our internal business units and contractors have come to reasonably expect that the commission will not issue a stop work order in Maryland without some kind of notice and opportunity for the company to respond and prepare and explain to the commission, again, why Stride is so valuable and so important.
Okay. All right, let me turn back to OPC and see if they have any comments, and then I'm going to come back to staff to react to what both of them have said.
Thank you, Your Honor. Obviously, we disagree with the company. I think on the one of the comment on one thing on the whole ongoing work question, it's not a defined term. It pulled from the footnote of the letter order. Is why we suggest that the commission clearly define what that means, and that is to say, as we recommend projects where ground has actually been broken, where there's actual construction work underway. WGL's concept would be basically if somebody in a back office thinks of a project and thinks, okay, let's start planning out what size pipe is this, in a back office somewhere, somebody put it on a list. It constitutes ongoing work, so we should keep doing that. I mean, under that concept, they could go back and say, okay, let's put everything on a list for the next 10 years. That's all ongoing work, so we should keep doing that, which is just simply absurd. So if we think the commission should make it clear that ongoing work simply means where construction work is actually ongoing, where ground has actually been broken. And OPC further agrees with, I think, the chair's comment just a moment ago, where if approving the project list now would be putting the cart before the horse, right? If we find that the compliance filing and, there's, with the NGA, there's major alterations that need to be made to WGL's existing Stride plan, then approving a Stride project list now that was based on that Stride plan that needs major revision doesn't make any sense, frankly. So, thank you.
Any questions? Oh, Commissioner Litt.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question for People's Council. I asked the same question at WGL. What did you envision the review process for the compliance filings to look like?
Yeah, we imagine we definitely want, as WGL, I think we and every interviewers would likely want at least the opportunity to respond to the company's filing. In comments, I've, at least the opportunity to respond. Could it come to a whole evidentiary hearing? I think it's possible. I think at this moment it's hard to say without seeing the filing at the moment. But certainly, at least responsive comments from every interveners before and maybe another response from the company before the commission makes a decision. But certainly, I think it would be more than just look at the filing and then make a decision. I think, yeah.
Okay. WGL suggested that this would be heavily legal in terms of review and interpretation. Does People Council agree with that, or do you think there are issues in dispute that need an evidentiary process?
I don't know. I think our interpretation of the law, I think in our view, the law is pretty clear, so there really shouldn't be any legal disputes. I think the company might disagree, so on that front, it's hard to say. I think in terms of, depending on what we see, I suppose there could be like a factual dispute of is this analysis of alternatives appropriate or sufficient or whatnot? I could see that happening. Yeah, but
okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? All right. Staff have any last thoughts, words?
I believe, as I hear it and as I learn more, it's not an engineering question. It's more like legal interpretation, which require clarification.
Okay, sure.
One small point and one more request, Commissioner. I do want to remind the Commission that there is a future of gas proceeding that's ongoing, and the company has been ordered to file testimony regarding alternatives to replacement in that proceeding as well. I also wanted to request, because I didn't do so in my earlier remarks, if the Commission is going to defer or delay the decision on the project list for more than a day or two, because historically it's been approved either the day of the admin meeting or within a day or two of the admin meeting, we would ask the commissioners please strongly consider allowing the requested change to the surcharge to continue, because the company has reached the $2 statutory cap, and so whatever happens with regard to the project list, the STRIDE surcharge should continue to be at the $2 mark, and Mr. Lawson can explain that further if you have any questions on that piece.
Okay.
Andrew
Yeah, go
Lawson,
ahead.
Washington Gas. The 25 surcharge was at $1.99 per month for residential customers. That includes plant that came in 25 on an average basis. Once that 25 plant exists in January, we're over the $2 cap if I don't spend another dime in 26. So there shouldn't be any controversy around the surcharges themselves. We could approve those and get those billed. The longer we wait to approve those, the harder that'll be to get in for January, given the timing.
Okay. Does staff agree with what the company said related to the surcharge? Yeah, no, I get that.
You want to hear? I can speak if we.
All right, go ahead, Walter.
I would say, as we also noted in our comments, that I don't think that the current 2026 STRIDE surcharge that was filed should be approved, because it includes the 2026 projects. Now, if you want to continue the 2025 surcharge for which past projects, I think that might be okay. But the 2026 surcharge includes calculations for future plant from the 2026 projects, so I don't think that is appropriate.
Hi, Tanika Alexander with accounting. I just wanted to agree with the company in reference to an accounting term. When you're talking about construction or contracts in construction, it is ongoing work. So if the surcharge protects that ongoing work, then I would agree to keep the surcharge going since it is at the cap.
And even OPC's request wasn't to end the surcharge, it was to remove the
understand.
26
Yeah,
workers.
so- All right, so we are going to take this under advisement. I will take in consideration your concern about the surcharge, so we may issue something in a day or two related to that, even if it may answer both questions, but at the very least, we'll make clear what you need to do on the surcharge. So. And with that, we're adjourned.
And then next up will be the Baltimore Gas and Electric Call Center matter announced by the notice to appear issued by the Commission on December 11th. We'll be taking a break until 11:30.
Yeah. Okay, good morning. So the Public Service Commission called this hearing to investigate information that came available to us regarding problems that customers had in contacting Baltimore Gas and Electric via the phone, via the internet. Our Consumer Affairs Division did an investigation, had communications with the company regarding this issue. So I want to start off with the director of our Consumer Affairs Division, Stephanie Bolton, to explain the results of her investigation, and then we'll turn to the company for their response and reaction to that. So, Stephanie, go right ahead.
Thank you, and good morning. I'm Stephanie Bolton here on behalf of the Consumer Affairs Division, and I have with me today new Consumer Affairs Attorney Jason Grimes. So what the Consumer Affairs Division, or CAD, does is handle complaints and calls from the public around utility issues. People typically reach out to us, and they center the main issue that they hope to get our help with. In describing their primary issue, we started seeing an uptick in people also describing their difficulty reaching BG&E's customer service call center. We reviewed our complaints, noting where complainants mentioned BG&E customer service inaccessibility in the narrative section of their complaints. CAD received 657 complaints against BG&E from July 1st through November 16th. About 22% of those complainants took the time to describe their difficulty reaching BG&E. In the summer months, customers described long hours on hold or opting for a callback but never getting one. By the fall, customers described not getting the option to wait on hold. They reported that instead, an automated message advises that BG&E is experiencing heavy call volumes, and the option to get a callback from a BG&E representative is the only option offered. On a couple of occasions in late September, I called BG&E's customer service line, and like the customers reaching out to CAD had described, I was not presented with the option to wait on hold. Callbacks only. Some customers report that they requested a callback or multiple callbacks over multiple days and did not get one. The number of complaints describing inaccessibility issues increased in mid-October, and CAD continued to see more people describing this problem through November. Notably, the federal government shutdown began on October 1st. However, this problem was established months prior to the shutdown. Also, November 1st marks the beginning of the winter heating season, when additional consumer protections apply to utilities seeking to terminate a customer's service for non-payment during the coldest months of the year. During this time, utilities are required to file an affidavit with the Commission, certifying their attempts to contact the customer and that the service termination will not pose a threat to the life or health of anyone in the household. From November 1st through December 8th, the Commission received 14,810 such affidavits from BG&E. Understandably, service terminations, particularly in the winter months, are a driver of calls. Customers at risk of having their service shut off or who are trying to restore their service report difficulties getting in touch with customer service call centers. Other Maryland utilities are facing the same issues around the financial impacts of the government shutdown and the strain of the winter heating season, but their customers are not reporting inability to reach their utilities' customer service call centers. It's important for a utility to have multiple channels available to communicate with their customers. Online self-service options are great when they work, when there is a use case that makes sense, and when you have a customer with the tech savvy to make that option work. But the ability to pick up the phone when your customers call remains a vital part of the customer service and dispute resolution experience. Some customers report trying to resolve their issues through the BG&E website, but were unable to do so either because they could not find what they were looking for or because of technical difficulties with the website. When these customers followed up by calling customer service, they were met with more frustration. Some complainants have shared their suggestions for how to improve the customer experience. and their comments include: the PSC should require a service level agreement of answering customers' phone calls. I'm seeking a mandate that requires BG&E to offer live customer service support without forcing paying customers to use an automated system for callbacks. I'm seeking to change the way BG&E is choosing to interact with their customers. I want the option to remain on hold to always be available for customers. Others question why there is a lengthy process to start service at a new address when there isn't the staff to effectuate the process, or question why service termination for non-payment can happen when they report waiting days for a callback. The CAD team and BG&E's customer advocacy team have discussed these issues. BG&E has provided the data that we asked for around these issues. CAD values its relationship with the customer advocacy team. We also recognize the hard work done over at BG&E's call center. It's a particularly demanding role requiring knowledge, adaptability, and often unacknowledged emotional labor. In our assessment, the inaccessibility that customers are reporting isn't on any of these individual workers. Instead, this looks to be a systemic issue. Recent news suggests it's not likely to change anytime soon, in fact, quite the opposite. I hope that this discussion allows us to fully acknowledge the challenges customers are experiencing, and in doing so, to work collaboratively towards both short-term and long-term solutions. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Bolton? Anybody? All right, so let me turn.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Joel Michelle on behalf of BGE. I don't think I'll have the pleasure of appearing before you all again before the holidays, so I'll take the opportunity to say happy holidays to you all. With me is Steven Singh. He's our Vice President of Customer Operations. He does have some outbound remarks, which are tailored to the 4 categories in the Commission's notice to appear. And then afterwards, he and I will be available for questions.
Great. And actually, if you could spell your name for the court reporter.
I did provide that.
Oh, okay.
Chair, yeah, beforehand.
Great. Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having me today and engaging in this really important topic about serving our customers. And thank you, Stephanie, for sharing a lot of the frustrations that our customers are having. We certainly understand those and are continuing as we work through this conversation today to talk about some of the short-term things we've done and continue to talk about some actions that we have in place to continue to try to have the goal of serving our customers the best way possible. One thing, as Stephanie mentioned, and as we've all felt, 2025 was just a very different year. Starting out the year in January with the affordability issues that we were facing, with supply charges increasing and the pressure, the mounting pressure it put on our customers was substantial and it was real. Not only were supply costs higher, but volumes were higher, driven by extreme cold temperatures. And with that came very increased energy prices, and the strain that it put on our care centers, the strain, more importantly, that it put on our customers was real and very significant. As we continue to monitor that volume of activity that was coming in, BGE did many things to help try to streamline that, and we can go into more details later around different technologies that we put in place, different staffing of how we tried to address it. As we move through the year, we started to see some recovery, and as Stephanie mentioned again in her outbound, we started to see a peak again occurring in October, right around the time of where the furloughs started occurring again. When we saw that peak occurring, you'll see, and I could talk about later about how we addressed that by added staffing to our call center. And those representatives, as Stephanie mentioned, are absolutely phenomenal at what they do. The burden that they have to take on, how they're trying to serve our customers in the best way we can, is one of the most admirable things I've seen at BGE with our employees. So thank you for giving credit to them. They are amazing at what they do. When I look at the data, when I look at what's happening, we just talked about macro level 2025 and some of the pressures. Interestingly, we're not even seeing a big surge in call volume. So when you look at the numbers, we're seeing about a 0.2% increase in call volume year over year. And one of the reasons I want to dive into that, while call volume is not up, complexity is up. Complexity of the call volume, because some of the technologies that we put in place have allowed customers to self-serve more. So some of the smaller issues no longer have to be handled with CSRs all the time or call service representatives. They can now be handled better with self-service, and we've seen improvements in our self-service adoption. So although call volume is only up 0.2%, as I mentioned before, the complexity of those calls is much higher. And when we look at the average wait times, and we see that the average wait time sometimes for this year we're in the high 50s, and you take a deeper dive into, wow, an average wait time in the high 50s, that's not at all acceptable. And we're working to get better. But as I diagnose that, and as we diagnose that as a company, so what's driving that? I said complexity. We're getting more questions now about billing than ever before. The billing component of our CSRs that are coming to us is in the wait times are at 100 plus minutes sometimes. It actually increased by 134 minutes from last year to this year. Because as we mentioned with the supply cost and the rising usage, our customers are really concerned about what's happening with their bill. Why is it so high? What is the supply cost and what's driving this? What are my options in terms of things I can do in terms of getting on payment arrangement plans? And you'll see that we talked about at BG, we've done many things to assist and support them. As we mentioned in October, as the furlough came on and we see soaring energy prices, we extended with the commission as well different things for our customers to reach out to them, and they called us and they needed more help. So the time that we were talking to them increased. Our average handle time is actually up by 9.4%. What average handle time means is once you actually connect with us, we want to take the time to spend with you, those great CSRs, to spend with you, to listen to you. And a lot of times they just need to be listened to. But to listen to, understand what's happening in their bill, talk to them about payment arrangements. So the length of the call once you connect with the CSR is increased significantly. And when the increase significantly of trying to solve that customer's question the first time correctly so that they get the right answer, the line unfortunately has been growing. So what Stephanie was alluding to, what we're all feeling, that line has been growing. So we've tried to put in place technology for that line so that you can get a call back, so you don't have to wait on that line, or we can hold your place in line. So as our CSRs are engaged in solving those complex issues with the customers we've connected with, she's right to point out, and we're right to see that that line got bigger. We could talk more deeper based on your questions about that technology and what we've done, but we have seen that too. And there's definitely opportunities for improvement. Some of our customers get frustrated with the line, as was already mentioned, and in fact, they abandon the call. So they're so frustrated with staying on the call that they'll just abandon it. We put in place a service that any customer that abandons the call, that we call them back, without them even signing up for Mindful, without them even signing up for a place to hold their place in line, without even signing up for call me back at this date. We see that they abandoned, so we proactively call those customers back. So I look forward to this conversation and dive into deeper. And one thing I do want to highlight, that emergency calls have not been impacted at all. We understand the duty of BGE, the safety for gas emergency calls, the safety for police fire calls, the safety associated with outages and what we have to do. Those things will always be our top priority, and we haven't seen any degradation in that. So thank you for your time today.
Okay, questions for BG&E, Commissioner Barbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let's talk about the emergency calls. I'm not a BG&E customer, so I've never called your helpline. How does a customer identify that? Let me just say that my wife and I did own a house in Annapolis many years ago. We did have a gas leak. We did call. We got somebody on the line live quickly, and they sent somebody out. But if I don't get a live person on the phone now, how do I identify my complaint as an emergency complaint?
Thank you, Commissioner Barbe, for the question. So if you were to call our number, the first thing you're going to engage with is an IVR, an integrated voice response system. And it's going to give you prompts to say what is the nature of your call. If one of those prompts that you select is selecting gas emergency, which is the highest prompt, you go right to an agent.
And, okay, all right.
So that's how we identify what the nature of your call is in working with the IVR, the front end.
Okay, next, complexity that you brought up. Did I hear you correctly to say that the reason for the complexity is a sudden surge in people complaining about their bills?
I wouldn't say complaining, Commissioner. I would say understanding. These bills and these supply costs have really spiked. So we could say complaining. They're certainly upset, but as we talk with them, it's more about listening to it and helping them understand what's occurring on their bill. And in certain cases, helping them identify pathways that they could work with either us directly or with our partners to get them relief that they could potentially utilize.
Has the BGE bill changed recently, or is it the same? Does the BGE bill of today look similar to the one I might have seen 10 years ago?
We continue to improve our bill to try to have and drive more transparency, and not only in the paper bill, but even now on our website and our app, there's many more features for you to interact with so you can dive in and understand the bill. I suspect, though, it's not that there's confusion around the bill itself, or there might be, but we've made improvements to make it more clear. I think people are more focused on the bill because the bill's total cost has increased significantly. So people are spending, we're seeing new customers come in than ever have before to ask us what is happening with the cost of the total bill. So there's more engagement.
Well,
Commissioner
okay.
Bartlett, just-
Well, let me re-ask my question a slightly different way. Have you undertaken a substantial change in the way the paper bill looks over the last year and a half?
Yeah, Commissioner Barber, I can take that. I understand the question. So, no. So, generally speaking, there's not a significant overhaul of the way the bill looks. But what Mr. Singh was alluding to is that, and I've taken the time to listen to these calls. I actually had planned to play one of the calls for you, for an example, but for customer confidentiality purposes, you can't do that. But in terms of the complexity, you have customers who, in the past, did not have issues paying their bills. Because of the rates going up, you have middle-income customers, right? We have a whole class of customers who now are calling BGE for the first time with questions about their bills, okay? So that adds a layer of complexity. We've also been taking the time to walk customers through options, whether it be OHEP or state grants, to help them get that bill relief that they need, and that takes time. Walking customers through the different options, explaining to them how they apply, how they qualify. It takes time, so that's the complexity component of it. You also might remember that BGE through Exelon provided some bill relief in the form of grants. And despite the fact that we used a third party to administer those grants, we got calls about that, right? So you have customers saying, "Hey, I understand you guys are offering bill assistance. How do I, get that?" And so those types of calls actually take more time to resolve, and we actually see that stat. I think in the information we provided to CAD, if you look at two categories, collections and billing, you will see, although year over year, as Mr. Singh mentioned, there's only a 0.2% increase in call volume, but if you look at those two categories specifically, you will see that spike, and that is the complexity that Mr. Singh was alluding to.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sussman.
Good morning, Mr. Singh.
Morning.
Have to say that I'm a little disappointed in your presentation because it feels to me like you're trying to explain why there's a problem as opposed to offering solutions to the problem. And I can tell you that if there's a feeder constraint, BGE will come right in and ask for authority to add to the distribution system to address the constraint. what you're telling me now, it doesn't matter if there is more caller volume or if there's an increase in complexity, you have a constraint on the system. And you're not offering any solutions. You're just giving me explanations. No one, at no time would BGE ever come here before us in asking for increases in the distribution system by simply saying, you know, there's more complexity on the system without a follow-up request for more money, could be millions, to build out their distribution system. So I have to say that I am really disappointed that, I mean, I understand the beginning of your presentation, I assumed was the beginning of your presentation, where you were going to explain the situation, and then you were going to offer solutions, like Ms. Bolton had asked, but you've offered nothing. And so I have to say that I mean, unless you're ready to offer us something now, that your presentation is woefully inadequate.
Yeah, Commissioner Sussman, if I can, I
Please.
think your frustration is misplaced. If there's frustration with
Okay, well, explain to me why it's misplaced.
Yeah, it should be directed to me, because I had asked Mr. Singh to shorten the remarks that he prepared, and he did not go through all of that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he
Mr.
does-
Michel, it doesn't, on some level, it doesn't matter who is at
Mr. Sussman,
fault.
If I may, if I may
Okay,
just
so
finish. He
that's
does actually have actual solutions that we've already been putting into place. I just wanted to make sure that your frustration wasn't misplaced, and I think it was, because I had asked him to shorten his
Okay,
remarks.
so are you, is it
does.
a
He's
is it a
available.
surprise? I mean, I don't want to I don't want to appear snarky, but this is, you know, we're talking about people who could be, you know, who could be in situations where electricity is a difference between life and death, and they're calling you because they've lost their electricity, and they don't have a way of contacting you. And so if you have solutions, you know, real world solutions that can address this in the same way that you would address a constraint on a feeder line, tell me what those solutions are. Because I heard from Ms. Bolton, she had some suggestions. What do you think about always having a live person who would answer the call, or always having the option of being put on hold? What do you think about those solutions?
Okay, so actually, before you do that, let me see if anybody else has any questions about the current setup before we sort of hear their proposed solutions. So, Commissioner Linton?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, I do agree with Commissioner Sussman. I'm looking forward to hearing those additional recommended solutions. I guess I also wanted to make sure that I did a little bit of level setting here. Both in our notice to appear and this morning during her comments representing the Consumer Affairs Division, there were several assertions made about the types of complaints we were receiving here at the Commission. Customers unable to contact the company, extended wait times, things of that sort. So I didn't hear a denial from the utility company. I didn't hear that this was not a problem.
It is.
So I'm assuming that means that you're acknowledging that this has been a challenge.
Yes.
That exists, and the Consumer Affairs Division isn't just making something up here.
It is a challenge in the way Ms. Bolton described it. We understand those frustrations. Those are real challenges, and as Commissioner Sussman asked, as that was intended to be an opening comment, I would love to have this engagement about what we're doing about it. We know it's unacceptable. We've done things already that have started to prove value, but we do also identify that there is a gap that needs to be closed. And Commissioner Sussman, when we get to that point, we will be ensuring we close it just like we do with anything else.
All right, then I won't stand in the way of that. Then let's hear it.
Okay. Commissioner McLean, anything?
I'd like to hear the proposed solutions.
Well, actually, so one question about the current setup. So you talk about a call center. So is there one call center? Is there multiple call centers? And is it located, is the call center located within the state of Maryland, or is this one of these outsourced things?
So it's I'd have to describe it fully. So we have a call center. Our main call center is here in Baltimore. It's in Baltimore City at our major building, our main building on Fayette Street. Our workers are a mix of internal workers that we have working on system at BGE. They also have the opportunity most days to work remote. We also have a supplemental contractor workforce that assists in the call center. The call center is managed by the wonderful individual sitting right behind me. So the management of the call center is here in Baltimore. And as I mentioned, most of the employees are internal employees with a complementary contractor workforce supporting us.
And how many are there? Employees?
So right now we have 148 internal employees and we have 63 contractor employees.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and hear
Okay.
what your proposed solutions are going to be?
Oh, absolutely. So we have a lot of metrics. When I talked about the wait times increasing up to where they've increased to the average wait times year over year, we need to get those back to where our normal baseline levels are for staffing, and we need to make sure that we can respond to our customers. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that. Let me just do it at a high level. It's going to be through increased staffing, and it's going to be through technology. So there's multiple aspects of that. So we know what the goal is. The goal is to be able to serve and be responsive to our customers in wait times that make sense. So the goals are clear in what we need to do. When we saw the increase and we're seeing the complexity, as I talked about, was not meant to be an excuse. It was meant to just talk about the reality of what happened in 2025. It happened. And we think, as Ms. Bolton said, it's going to continue to happen. So we're not going to just sit back and hope and wait that it goes away. Affordability issues are here and they're here to stay. So given these new trends and these new emerging issues that we see, we have already authorized back in November an additional 30 internal FTEs. So that will take you from 148 number when you asked me the question up to 178. We're also going to be increasing our contractor resources up to levels that we believe, and we have lots of metrics to determine that this new staffing level that we're adding in is going to allow us to be able to handle this new reality in which we're dealing with, in which there will continue to be these more complex calls, so that our care center is right-sized. That's on the human capital of staffing, and I mentioned internal and external. In addition to that, we know that there have to be improvements in our Mindful tool. Our Mindful tool is the technology I was alluding to before that gives the customers the option, if you don't want to wait on hold, and I want to go back to the wait on hold piece in just a second. If you don't want to wait on hold, that this tool gives you the option to do two things. One, to hold your place in line so that we can call you back as soon as possible. So you don't have to wait until you're up. So that tool already allows you to do that. And there's another option where the tool will allow you to schedule a callback time. As Ms. Bolton mentioned, in both of those aspects, there's opportunities for improvement in the tool. So we are working with the vendor of the tool. We're working with all of our counterparts to ensure that we improve the accuracy of that tool. That tool was derived to determine past performance of how long a call would take, but given this new reality and complexity, as I mentioned a couple times now, will continue, the tool needs to be adjusted to be more accurate so that when we're giving callback times to customers, that we don't miss them. If they expect us to call them at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and we don't call them at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, we're going to continue to track that and measure that until we deliver on our commitments to call them back when they expect to. So I can dive into more details if you'd like, but the two major aspects of how are we going to solve this is by adding more human capital through internal staffing and external staffing, and doing lots of additional things in terms of technology until we can get this back to a position where our customers feel that they can reach out and talk to a human being. That other part, talking about why couldn't they get through to a human being, I want to come back to that, and Commissioner Suchman asked me about that as well. So there have been some cases in which our tool, our Mindful tool, and how long the queues were so long, because we have a care center who's working really hard that's there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. When we look at the calls in queue and they're so long that we know that we're not going to be able to have that customer wait online. If you call in at 5 p.m. and we see this really long line in front of you and we know it's going to take 3-4 hours for you to get there, we disable the ability at times to wait on hold and say, it's unrealistic for you to wait on hold for 3 hours in some cases, so that's why we would have you schedule a callback. So that's why in some instances when the volumes got so large, like when we were dealing with inflows from the furlough and other, that there were days in which it got really large that we had to disable your ability to wait on hold. That generated a lot of frustration with our customers. And again, we're going to respond with 2 basic principles: adding more human capital and improving our technology.
And I'd just add just one other aspect. Commissioner Suchman, you mentioned the case where there's more of a urgent call. Say a customer has had their services cut and they're trying to contact BGE. We do have a process in which we try to sort of identify the urgency of the call and then address them as such. So for instance, if a customer is calling, once we go through the verification of their account on that call, our system will automatically know that, okay, this customer has been cut, their services is not in place, and will immediately put them in a queue to prioritize that call so that those types of calls are getting addressed sooner rather than later. And then the less urgent calls, get dealt with afterwards.
So let me ask a clarifying question. So obviously the number is available 24 hours a day, to call you directly, so if I just about anything, and then it gets these prompts about electricity emergency, gas emergency, and things like that. But the folks that do this sort of hands-on work with customers' bills and payment arrangements, what are the hours of that operation?
Thank you for making that distinction. So yes, there's a 24 hours if you have an emergency call that we're going to handle that. So you described that correctly. So for what we'll call normal business, those hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday are our traditional working hours. We've extended multiple times into offering Saturdays as well. So that if we have mindful callbacks or callbacks that we have to make, we'll reopen the care center on Saturdays if the volume was too large. But our normal business hours are Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And as I mentioned, just repeating, on Saturdays we'll also offer if the volume gets too large.
So let me ask one question. Have you thought about, if you have a number of these people working remotely, which I assume means they're working from home, have you given any thought to having the operation available 24/7?
We have not at this point. We have not at this point. So that has been the times in which our customers are looking to engage with us the most. So there was a period of time in which we extended the hours to 7 p.m. because that was the time duration in which our customers were trying to reach us.
Okay, so questions on there, Commissioner McLean.
Good morning, sir. In terms of the Mindful tool, it sounds like the issues have existed for several months. I think Ms. Bolton referenced there was an uptick in the summer, or maybe May, I believe. When did BGE notice an issue?
So we put this tool in place in 2024, so it's still a relatively new tool. When did we noticed it throughout the year? So we've noticed it throughout the year when we're having issues and we're trying to work with the vendor and work with our tools to continue to improve it.
Okay, so if you recognized it over the summer, what confidence do you have in the vendor being able to fix it if they haven't fixed it yet? That's one thing I really haven't heard, how this issue, these callback systems are great when they work, but when you have people calling 3 and 4 times asking for a callback, they don't get it. And the one fix you have, if they abandon the call, you'll call them back proactively. Well, that's great, but that's probably only capturing a very few people.
Commissioner McLean, I believe what Ms. Bolton was alluding to in terms of that particular spike, it coincided with a period in which the mindful functionality was in fact disabled. There was a particular issue that we identified, and I believe we have since addressed that. I think what Mr. Singh was alluding to in terms of the ongoing work that we're looking to do with respect to the Mindful tool, it's a matter of being responsive to the new things that we're seeing and making sure that the tool is set up and equipped to handle the new issues as we're seeing them, because it is fairly new. This is the first full year that we've had the tool.
Sure. Well, so to the extent people are calling, asking for a callback, or holding their place in line and not getting a call, that issue has been completely addressed. Is that what you're telling me?
Well,
Because Ms. Bolton seemed to disagree with that.
No, so I think we're talking about two different things. What I heard from Ms. Bolton was a period in the summer where customers were complaining that they were not being given the option to remain on hold in the queue.
Okay, yeah, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people that are requesting a callback, either scheduled or, we'll hold your place in line, we'll call you, as soon as has that issue been addressed and corrected?
Well, you asked if I could answer the first, and I'll
Please.
answer your second one. You asked about confidence, so we're going to fix it. So you were asking me my confidence level of fixing it. We're going to fix it. Now, I want to be clear though, it's not all the tool's fault, right? So the tool it's a tool, and what it's trying to determine is how long is your average handle time? How long do customers want to engage with you with changes? But really, what's underlying the issue is how many call takers do you have? How many call takers do you have? And how many human beings are there to interact with our customers? So as we add resources, as I mentioned, we're going to be adding. And as we add both internal and external resources, the tool could always get better in terms of forecasting, and it will. And we can get more precise. So my confidence level is very high that we're going to fix this. But we're going to do it in two ways. It's not just fixing the tool, because the tool could be the most accurate tool. But if you're calling me on Friday and I'm accurately going to tell you I can't call you back until Tuesday, that doesn't satisfy you. What I need to do is to have more resources in place so that I can call you back either later on Friday or Saturday at the very next day and not have it wait. So I'm interested in the tool being right and being accurate, and we're going to continue to be work with the vendor and the tool to get that as best as possible. But the issue really resides with our responsibility and accountability to make sure that we have the staffing in place, that we have the qualified agents in place, so that the tool can be as accurate as possible. And given this new normal of what we experienced in 2025, we've never seen spikes like this in terms of billing, in terms of issues we're seeing. It hasn't been in our history. It happened. It's not an excuse. It happened where we identified the issue. We're already moving in a direction to add staffing. We're already working with the vendor, and we will solve this.
Okay. So between the tweaking the tool and the additional personnel, that's going to fix it. So you won't have issues where I have to call multiple times and I'm still not getting a call back.
Yeah, we will fix it. And there's a third, and there's a third piece too I want to mention. And I mentioned it in my opening, and I'll say it here again. We also want to continue to increase the ability for customers to self-serve. So as we're also continue to make investments, there was a question about starting services. We want to make it easier for customers to interact with us the way they want to interact with us. And a lot of them prefer to interact with us through our app, through our website, as long as it's functioning properly. So we continue to have investments there to make sure that if our customers prefer to interact with us on the app or the website, that they can do that. By doing that and being successful in those areas, will reduce the volume of actual customers calling into the call center. So there's that third piece of this as well, the tool, the staffing, and the technology, so that they don't have to come in the first place.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And last question, in terms of the staffing, you're going to be adding both contractor and internal personnel. So is that to say that the customer operations won't be impacted by BG's announcement last week?
Customer operations will not be impacted by the announcement last week. In fact, we have on the street since November a hiring opportunity for people to come into the care center. As we evaluate our business, this care center is absolutely critical for our customers. So yes, it will not be impacted directly to your question. In fact, we are hiring in the care center.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mr. Barbie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You described a moment in time where the mindfulness tool was offline, or what period of time and for what purpose?
And I'm sorry if I was, if maybe I didn't say that clearly. So
Okay.
It wasn't that the mindful tool was offline. What was offline is we disabled the ability in certain instances when volume got too large to allow our customers to get into a queue. And what means getting into a queue is if you just wanted to wait until you talk to a person. And I keep using Friday. I'm going to stick with this. You call in Friday, and you want to wait on Friday as long as it possibly takes for you to talk to a CSR. There were cases in which we disabled the ability for you to wait. So the Mindful tool was analyzing our queues, how long this line was, and was saying, practically speaking, that customer, even if they wanted to wait as long as possible, our care center would have been closed. It would have been way past 7 p.m., or there were just so many people in line that it wasn't practical for you to wait on call that Friday.
So I presume that you did not, in your automated message, state that.
We have that in the IVR?
We did have that in our IVR, our automated message, stating that the only option would be to get a call back.
No. I mean, did the automated message say we can't keep you online because this will flow into Saturday or in the middle of the night, anything like that?
It said that we were at capacity for the day, and we were offering the opportunity for the customer to schedule a callback.
All right. Sometimes when I'm on hold, the message will say you are 13th in line, and then maybe a little later on it says you're the 12th in line or the 11th in line. Does your system give that kind of real-time queuing information?
Okay, it gives you the estimated wait time, but doesn't give you, to your direct question, whether you're 12, 13, or 14. It will give you the estimated wait time of your call.
This isn't a question, but this is a suggestion. I have found that actually stating the number of people I'm behind is important information, because then I might make a decision for a callback, or I might make a decision to pick up the phone tomorrow. An estimated wait time is just not very precise. I think to know that there are 50 people in line ahead of me is a more useful piece of information to me as a customer, I would think. Mr. Chairman, can I ask Ms. Bolton a question? Sure. Okay. Ms. Bolton, did you see a similar surge around the time of the federal government shutdown? Did you see a similar surge in complaints in the other utilities? For example, Pepco, where I think there are probably a lot of people who work for the federal government?
No, there was not a similar surge in any other utility.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before I turn to the other commissioners, just a quick follow-up to his last question about the time duration versus place in line. Given the discussion you had earlier about the fact that some of these calls can be sort of complex and sort of time-consuming, I mean, does your time estimate thing really work? I mean, it seems to me you're basically just guessing as to how long it's going to take. So.
Well, we're not. So our customers' needs have changed. So for example, we are now offering more payment arrangements than we have before.
Right.
We also have more tools in place for assistance for those customers, and the biggest jump in the tool was 134 minutes in customers trying to understand their bill. So I would say customers' needs have changed. But more, I think, to your point, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, customers' needs have changed. So now we have to respond to that, because the greater macro level trends seem like this will continue. So
Right.
we need to.
Which again sort of gets to my point of, if you're trying to give an estimate, like your wait time is 10 minutes, is it really a legitimate estimate, or is it more along the lines of what Commissioner Barbe suggested, which is just a wild guess?
It's not a wild guess, but we will take Commissioner Barbe's recommendation into consideration regarding what you recommended.
All right, Commissioner Sussman.
So I'm happy to know that you actually have a plan in place. So that's a good thing. So sort of recognizing that things are changing, and as you sort of said yourself, that customers' billing is getting more complex. We're only seeing an increase in rates, and so we're going to sort of deal with some of those challenges as well. When you know that you're running into a problem, do you contact CAD at that moment to let them know we're seeing an increase in volume. We're concerned that we're not getting to everybody that we need to get to, and so we just want to let you know that we're working to try to address the problem, but we also want to give you a heads up.
Commissioner Sussman, I agree there's an opportunity there. I just had a great opportunity to connect with Ms. Bolton this past week and committed to do that.
Okay.
Is that there is a better opportunity for our organizations to stay connected at my level, at our staff's level, so that we can keep each other more informed about trends that we're seeing.
That would be really good because, the first time we heard that there was a problem was we heard it from Ms. Bolton, not from you. And the reality is that because things are getting more complex, simply adding personnel or adding more tools may not address the problem. There may be another way of addressing it, but the best way that you can address that is to be able to work with CAD so that we'd like to have a situation where nobody is calling because everybody's issues have been taken care of. That's never going to happen, or the wait time is a minute or two. That's probably not going to happen as well. But if you're not engaging with them, then we're kind of flying blind, and you're also not getting the full value of what resources we have here as well.
I agree.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Lynn?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the company's proposed solutions, several of which I understand you're already working on. I have to say that I'm a bit skeptical that these are going to address the challenges that we know are pending in front of us for a winter season. I know it's not meteorological winter yet, but it's already cold outside. We already have snow on the ground. And so we already know what happens next. So my questions to you tie around what you've proposed. You noted that, and I think this is true for most systems, that high volume creates some challenges for you. And so one of your solutions, as you mentioned earlier, was to increase your staff. How long does it take you to bring on board new staff so that they're prepared to sit in and take it and help to alleviate some of these calls that we're talking about?
This training for these positions is challenging. It's hard to do this job. And so it takes a lot of skills and training in order to do that. That being said, we're going to have this additional staff in place. 30 of them will be coming in January, and then we're going to have more in February to hit those numbers that we hit. Because once we started seeing the trends starting to increase again in October, and understanding what you're saying, and we're already seeing more volume being used in December. By having this staff in place in January, this added staff in January, and then more resources in February, we're going to be in a much better position to handle the inflow.
So you have these people, these new employees in training currently?
Yes, yeah, we have. Well, so some of the contractors are already training. It's a mix. So some are training, some are also going to be hired very shortly.
Okay, so we can, at least for me, I would put aside the ones that haven't been hired yet, because those are, if the training is complex, as you've already stated that it is, we know already, because like I said earlier, it's cold outside now. Your billing cycles will suggest that some customers will start getting and seeing the effects of the cold weather that we're facing now in their bills very soon. And so, and of course, the effects of that and the impacts of it will be financial. So when they contact you, they're going to be speaking to the people you already have working there. The newer folks that I'm looking forward to seeing there, but they're not going to be there in time.
So they'll be here. So it's the usage in December. Everything you're saying about seeing it be colder in December is accurate. So as we're starting to do that, we're already starting to open up with our existing staffing things like Saturdays and more opportunities for us to expand our hours because when the chair asked the question, what's your normal business hours? And I mentioned Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. As we're starting to see increases in December, we're going to be expanding and continue to expand opportunities into Saturday to handle some of the volume of existing staff. And as we add more staff in January, we're going to have more resources. And while I said the training was difficult, but once their training is completed, they're ready to go. Our training may be difficult, but we have excellent trainers and we have excellent quality assurance individuals who work with us, who will work hand in hand with all of those new employees that come in. So when they start in January, they're going to be ready to go. And then when we have the additional coming on in February, same. So it's going to be a layered approach by first asking more of our existing employees through December and then be ready to go in January and February to position us in the heart of the winter.
Okay, so I appreciate your answer. It sounds as though there are some other solutions that you're using that you haven't told us about yet, such as this option for having some time available on Saturdays to take calls from customers.
My apologies. I thought I mentioned that we do extend it to Saturdays from time to time. If I didn't, I thought I did.
I didn't recall hearing that,
Okay.
but I appreciate hearing it. Thank you. So, and this may be a question for your counsel, but there are other solutions that the company proposed back during the time when the furloughs were were still, when the shutdown still existed. Of course, it doesn't exist anymore, but we are in the winter restriction period now. Are any of those extra enhancements that you offered back then still active today?
Commissioner Linton, if you could just help me understand which sort of solutions you have in mind.
Well, sure. You offered extended payment plans. You offered.
Yeah, we're still doing that.
Okay. You offered for consumers that were low income. You offered extended time period for allowing them to apply for assistance, so that if they weren't able to get through.
Those are still in place.
Okay, so that's a list of extra information that would be helpful for the commission now to know. So are there other things like that you have that you're still offering? Things that are above and beyond what you're required to do in the Code of Maryland regulations that you're offering to consumers. So it's not just a matter of them having the challenge of getting through, but once they do get through, that there's some assistance and benefit that you can offer.
Right. Yeah, and that's what Mr. Singh alluded to earlier, that if you look at our first call resolution stat, I think it's up close to 10%, which means that when a customer does in fact reach a representative, they're getting a solution to their problem. So their concern is being resolved. And I think Mr. Singh could speak a little more on that.
And to your point, Commissioner, around a lot of those things still exist, like extended payment arrangements and the other aspects that we're doing to be there for customers and to support them. When I was mentioning about complexity, it's connecting them with some of these additional things that we have that takes a little bit more time. So once we do connect with them and are talking with them, the duration of those calls, the great people behind me listen into every call and they're monitoring every call. And as they listen into those calls, you'll find that the length of the time in order to complete that call gets longer because we're trying to connect them with some additional things that we continue to offer. Like I keep mentioning payment arrangements, and there's others that we could send you because we're trying to serve our customers the first time, the right time, and get them connected to all the resources that have been made available to them.
Okay, so the collection activity is still ongoing, obviously, even though I understand it's the winter months, and there's protections built into the regulations, but even around that, there's still collection activity. So how is the company making certain that those consumers that are facing service denial, that are looking to have service reconnected, for example, but they're going through the same system that everybody else is going through as they're having multiple conversations, longer conversations, how are you making certain that we're not telling a customer whose service is off, for example, that they have to call back later, or you'll wait for a call back, or something of that sort?
So
are there mechanisms that allow them to get through so that they can resolve their problem quicker?
Yes, sir. As they call in and we authenticate the account, meaning you have to add your address, who are you, and we authenticate who you are. And our systems can flag if your service was disconnected, and we have the ability, and we do prioritize those customers so that they jump to the top of the line.
So Commissioner Linton, they're not, in the pool of customers waiting for a call back or anything else. They will be put in the queue to speak to a live representative.
Okay. So obviously there's a sensitivity to that, and that if a consumer doesn't have power,
yes,
and they're attempting to contact you, there's obviously a limited window by which they have whatever appropriate resources are to reach you during that time frame.
Correct.
And that also is the same thing for consumers that are trying to start service. That maybe they're transitioning from one place to another, and they're in a place where they need to start service and don't actually have an account. And so if they call you to get authenticated, they can't necessarily do that because they don't have an account to authenticate. But they're looking to be a customer, and they're in the same kind of queue. So I mention that as an example because we've seen that here at the Commission as an example that's come to us after attempting to reach you. And so any one of those is a problem that obviously the Commission doesn't want and you don't want.
Correct.
Especially if it becomes a bigger problem when a consumer is without power at a time when it's in its wintertime. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll stop with that, but I appreciate the information. Thank you.
So under AMI, you can disconnect somebody's service without sending a physical person to the place, correct?
Yeah. Yep, generally speaking, that's correct.
Okay. And I've heard this discussion where if somebody's service is off and they call you, there's a way of sort of moving them up. But I guess my concern is that for the folks that have limited resources, that are trying to figure out which bill gets paid today and which one gets deferred, even though you send notices that, hey, if you don't do something, people may wait to the last minute. So is there a process within your system that if somebody's got, this termination notice that says your service will be cut off, at X date at X time, for them to sort of get up to the head of the queue?
There as we're conferring to, there is, so if you also, if you call in, there's options for you to, through our IVR system or automated system, for you to make payment through the IVR system and also the app.
Yep, and then to your question, Chair Hoover, we actually have a program where we proactively will call customers who are at risk, as you described.
And I guess the other issue, and this kind of gets to the training, when we deal with these issues, particularly in the wintertime, we're sometimes urged to just declare a flat moratorium that you can't cut off anybody's service for any reason from X date to X date. And there's always resistance from the company about doing that because of the concern that it raises arrearages. And, and I know there's been talk that, your folks, when they talk to the customer, there's a process for discussing the availability of money from the state, the feds, local charities and things like that, and then the payment plan. So it's a fairly difficult negotiation process that you engage in between the customer and yourself to try and come to an arrangement that keeps their service on and still provides you with some money. So I guess the question I have is, it strikes me that that's a difficult thing to teach somebody how to do.
It is.
So.
And you're right to call that out. So while we have CSR agents and they come in you have to achieve a certain skill level, and we have rankings of skill level for the more complex issues. So for example, we're not putting a new person on a gas emergency call. You have to demonstrate through our training and our OQ process that you could achieve the highest level of that you can for the most pressing issues like emergency. And billing is similar. So we have specialty billing departments. We also have supervisors that engage when those types of more complex transactions are needed. So there's a scaling that takes place.
Okay. Now, along the lines of people expressing concerns, I got to tell you, I mean, from my standpoint, this call issue is a fairly important matter, and if you don't want us to take action that you might consider draconian, which is not letting you cut people off between now and sometime in February or March, you know, I think we're going to need to see, you know, performance and response from you to give us the assurance that folks aren't going to be, you know, standing in line and waiting a long time to get a response from you when they have these payment concerns, because as other commissioners have talked about, you know, we're entering not only the high bill situation, but, you know, that compounded with the weather, which, you know, I mean, obviously you know better than I do how dangerous, you know, not having service during the wintertime can be, you know, for a variety of reasons, not just, you know, the cold itself, but when people take other actions to try to provide light and heat for their house, which are, you know, just too dangerous, you know, if they, you know, they're going to do what they're going to do to try and stay warm, and we need to, you know, make sure that those situations don't happen. And so them being able to talk to you is the first step in that process. So let me do this. I want to invite, I see we got representatives here from the Office of People's Counsel, so I want to let them make comments either on the problem or the proposed solutions, and if you have other ideas in mind that the company should consider, feel free. And actually, you can come up here. We can make room for you at the table. So. Two more seats. Yeah, so why don't we...
So as we're getting seated here, I'll just introduce everybody for the commissioners. So my name's Isaac Lindenbaum. I'm a assistant People's Counsel with the Office of People's Counsel. With me today is Brandy Nealon. She's the director of our Consumer Assistance Unit, and she handles calls, customer outreach for OPC. And has a lot of experience interacting with customers who are calling in crisis or in emergency situations. And so she will share her experience and OPC's perspective on some of the topics that have been discussed so far today.
Hi, everybody. I'm going to sound a little bit like a broken record, almost like me and Stephanie.
Well, actually,
is it not on?
No. I just need you to state your name and then spell it for the court reporter.
Brandy Nealon, Brandy with an I, and then Nealon, N-I-E-L-A-N-D. It's going to sound like Stephanie and I colluded before this meeting, so I'm not going to go over too much of that. But I also wanted to add some faces to this. I just wanted to kind of get it out there, kind of what this looks like. And a lot of this, well, I'm telling a couple, but they've all happened in the past 30 days, one even yesterday. So very recent things that have been happening. So as Isaac said, I kind of oversee our education and outreach. We also have an intake line, and folks call us, you know, needing help with their bills, or if they have like a really complicated utility issue, we talk through about that. We get, it's around 2,500 calls a year, so not as much as Stephanie's crew, but, you know, we do have a specialty here. And in mid-May, we actually started to see this spike in calls complaining about BGE wait times. Either it was they were calling about that bill and happened to mention it as a side note when we suggested, hey, have you tried to call BGE to set up a payment plan? I've tried. I can't get in touch with anybody. Or they were calling specifically to complain about the wait times. Now, they were saying that often they couldn't speak with the person, that it wasn't an option, that they were waiting 6 to 8 hours for callbacks, or they were never receiving a callback. And while we can't verify, you know, the statements of the customers, we heard it from a lot of people. It was a pretty high volume of folks, and it starts to kind of ring true when you hear it from that many people, the same thing. And so I wanted to kind of pause right here to tell a couple of those stories, to put a face to some of this, especially with some of the remedies that BGE is considering putting in place. So I did speak to a woman who had a medical need. This, again, all of these were in the past couple of weeks. Had a medical need, wanted to get a medical cert on file so she could get that 30-day hold and kind of get those wheels spinning. But unfortunately, she was unable to reach BG&E, and she was holding a turn-off notice in her hand. I also spoke to a single father with 2 children, 2 young kids, trying to move to a new location. But when you move service, it typically takes a couple of days, like it's not instant. And he'd been trying to get in touch, and he was sort of planning on moving to a new place with no electricity. I also spoke with actually a couple of families, and they had been shut off for non-payment, and they had paid their full bill, and they were trying to, let BGE know, hey, please turn us back on, and they were unable to contact those people. Thankfully, we have a contact at BGE, and so we were able to get those people connected, but most people don't know me. They don't know Stephanie. And actually, just as recent as yesterday, when we were kind of preparing this, I was simultaneously answering an email from a woman, and I'm going to just read a very small portion. It's kind of de-identified, and it says, I tried to contact BGE several different methods to try and work out a payment plan and a turn-off notice extension, and to let them know that I applied for energy assistance and that I was trying to get the 55-day extension for the turn-off notice, but no response. And I've heard from several people who have had the same issue with BGE being difficult to get a hold of. So this is a person who was doing all the right things and not being able to get in touch with someone yesterday. She also had a turn-off notice in her hand for Friday. We were able to get her an extension, but that's just an example of kind of what's going on literally today. In addition to that, there's an agency line that organizations like mine and probably some of the community action centers call to. We don't call the main line when we have questions for BGE. We call this agency line. It's like a secret number. And the wait times for that have also become pretty high. It's making it difficult for us to do our jobs because we can't sit and wait on hold when we're trying to help multiple people. We continue to receive these calls actually even today. We get like 10 to 20 calls where either it's like the secondary issue or it's the primary concern, so it's continuing to come in. We did bring this issue up to BGE a couple of times. One of the times was on November 17th, and they did mention, because one of our main concerns was you can't speak to a human, and you have to have a callback, and they did say that they had instituted a live person that day. So it was probably that day or just about, because I did call afterwards, and I did wait on hold for 35 minutes, which honestly at this point seemed kind of short, but that's still a pretty long time for serious service, especially when you don't have flexible work hours where you can sit on hold for 35 minutes. We also kind of coincidentally the very next day received a email from Senator Mary Washington's office reaching out to our office about those same wait times and the concern that her constituents had sent to her. So I just kind of wanted to also comment on why we thought this might be happening. And it's funny to hear kind of what BGE has said. I also used to run a call center, so it's really been fascinating to hear all this information. But the average handle times at our office have also skyrocketed for some of the same reasons that BGE had mentioned. So it's not just they called, they need help with their bill, here you go, on your way. People can't even believe it's their bill. So because it's so high, they're like, something must be wrong. It's never looked like this. It's almost all of my contacts with people have something like this. So now we're having to take time to pull out their bill and be like, it's right, and explain why it's right, and then talk about weatherization, talk about these other things. But people are actually shocked that it's their bill. And that's sort of what triggered, I think, what Isaac's going to talk about in the letter that we had sent to BGE asking for some clarification.
Yeah, so based on that information and the concerns we've had, we sent an email to BGE on December 11th with a letter that requested specific information on customer callback times and customer call wait times. And I have that email and letter with me here today for the parties and commissioners. Chair Hoover, if I could approach to provide the commissioners with copies.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
So the letter you have before you now, we sent to BGE on December 11th, and we requested a response by December 15th. Unfortunately, at this time, we still have not received a written response to the specific questions that we asked. Yesterday around 4 o'clock, we did receive from BGE responses that they had provided to the Consumer Affairs Division, their data requests, but we have not received a written response to our requests. And so this letter requested that BGE provide answers to two main requests. First, we requested the same industry standard call center statistics and emergency call statistics reported by Washington Gas Light Company in case number 9104 for each month of 2025. Second, we requested that BGE clarify whether its callback feature stops internal tracking of customer wait times at the time a customer requests a callback from BGE, but before that customer actually speaks to a customer service representative. If BGE's callback feature did stop its internal tracking, then we requested that BGE provide specific metrics on callback wait times. As part of BGE's reliability reporting in case number 9353, BGE reports on the percent of calls answered within 30 seconds, the abandoned call rate, and other consumer and customer communication metrics. However, at this time, it's not clear how BGE's reported customer communications account for customer callback wait times, which would affect the ultimate metrics that BGE reports. And so for these reasons, OPC requests that the Commission direct BGE to file with the Commission within 15 days number one, a public response to the information that we requested in our December 11th letter, and number two, a corrective action plan that addresses customer call wait times and callback wait times and the information that was discussed today. We also request that BGE clarify today before the Commission whether the company's customer call metrics in BGE's 2024 annual performance report account for customer callback wait times. And if they do not, the Commission should direct the company to publicly file a corrected annual performance report for 2024 that accounts for callback wait times by including the 3 callback wait time metrics that we have detailed in our December 11th letter. I'm available for any questions about those requests, and I believe my colleague Nicole Zeitner, who's a senior assistant People's Counsel with the Office of People's Counsel, has some additional information to add.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. OPC would just like to clarify or correct the record regarding some of the references to supply costs leading to such high bills. So BGE made reference to January 2025, but the big jump in supply costs due to capacity market prices didn't appear on BGE bills until the September billings, and that's pursuant to a Commission order. Additionally, BGE's references to supply costs don't tell the whole story, and we think this messaging is really important in light of what's going on. BGE's electric distribution rates have increased every year for the past 7 years and are scheduled to increase in 2026, as well as their gas distribution rates. As noted in OPC's rates report, BGE's, PEPCO's, and Delmarva's electric rates have increased well above the rate of inflation in recent years. Exelon's net income in 2024 was $2.4 billion, and Exelon's February 12, 2025 results report for 2024 describes the increase in its GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles, net income, and adjusted non-GAAP operating earnings from 2023 to 2024 as attributable in part to, and I quote, higher utility earnings primarily due to distribution rates at BGE, end quote, and distribution and transmission rate increases at PHI. So although supply costs do play a role here, we think it is frankly misleading to customers to not account for the fact that distribution rates have also increased. It doesn't tell the whole story, and that customer messaging is not appropriate. So we would like it to be made clear that there are 2 reasons for these increases, and it's not just supply costs. Thank you.
Okay, before we go to questions from the commissioners, I actually want to make a suggestion for your to-do list. Ms. Nyland talked about the fact that she contacts the company on behalf of customers, and I'm also aware of the fact that there are other agencies and other folks that do the same thing. Laurel Peltier does it. AERP, I think, does it for their members. And actually, I can remember many years ago when I was at that agency, that was part of my job was, and in those days, we actually did have a direct number that we could call to have someone discuss that. And it sounds like that arrangement still exists, but maybe that one needs to be beefed up too. And it strikes me that it's going to do a lot for you, because it'll cut, having folks that are already experienced with the process can make these things go a lot faster. So they're actually doing you a favor by, advocating on these customers. So it seems to me it's in your interest to make sure that folks like Ms. Nyland and her colleagues can access somebody right away. So, Commissioner Barbe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for Ms. Nyland. Okay, you had a pretty compelling theory as to why these complexities were arising. I'm wondering, do you have a theory as to why they started in May?
I do not. If I'm going to be completely honest, they were definitely build up from the January bills. I think they're coming due, and the turn-off notices are coming. Most of the people that we talk to have a turn-off notice in hand. So if I had to make an educated guess, it would probably be that we are coming off of the winter bills, like the coldest parts of the year, and the turn-off notices are starting to come, so people are worried and they don't understand how they possibly could have spent that money. But again, I literally just talked to someone this morning, very angry about their bill that they just got. So I think it's not just the colder bills. I think everyone is shocked. They say things, I didn't use more than last year, and I'm looking at it, and they're right. They're pretty close. It's more expensive.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sussman.
So I had asked Ms. Bolton about Pepco and whether she had seen similar issues with Pepco, and she has not. Have you seen any issues with Pepco in terms of call center? I mean, or sort of general issues around their bills?
I have not.
Yeah, and I'm sort of wondering why that is too. And I'm not sure that we're going to have an answer today, or have an answer that sort of gives us greater comfort. I can tell you, hearing that a utility that is actually has a pretty high percentage of federal employees who lost their job and didn't sort of face those kinds of financial challenges. You're not hearing any complaints from that end, but we're hearing complaints from BGE, suggests to me that there may also be a systemic problem as well that you're going to have to take a look at. I mean, we're not calling you on the carpet and saying, tell us everything that you've done and fix it right away. But the fact that one of your sister utilities is not running into the same problem suggests to me that maybe there is also a problem within BG that you need to look to. And in the way that I sort of suggested that you have better communication with CAD, I think you need to also be talking to OPC. I mean, I think everybody wants to get to the same place, which is that we want ratepayers to feel confident that they can reach their utility and be able to talk to you. And if that's not happening, I think you need to I mean, they're not the enemy. And I think you need to talk to them about issues that they're seeing, and they may have solutions that you're not thinking. But I do really think that you have to sort of look internally as well, try to figure out why Pepco's not having this problem that you're having. That's all I have, Mr.
Commissioner
Chair.
Sussman, just to offer a response to that, I don't want to leave the commission with the impression that we were taking the position that the federal furlough was the only or even the majority cost for the changes in volumes that we're seeing in our call center, or the wait times rather. I think it goes back to what we said initially, meaning supply rates increasing at certain times.
But they're also seeing increases in rates.
Yeah,
I don't know that we have to have an answer to why. I think we need to have a sense of what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to have the answer. I think we have to have a commitment to fixing the problem.
No, sure.
I
And
think
we-
that's the most important piece here.
And we've provided that. And I think there are some obvious explanations that I think it'd be helpful for the commission to know. The fact that we're much larger. We have much larger customer count than Pepco. Mr. Singh mentioned this earlier in terms of headcount in the call center, right? We're having our folks filled much higher volumes. And the complexity issues, as we discussed at length already, is a big factor now. We're trying to do the right thing. I mean, we
But
could...
Michelle, you're missing my point. I'm not sure that we really need to have the answer to why this is going on. I think more than anything else, we need to get a commitment from the company that they're going to fix the problem.
And we
I
have-
don't think we need to have an explanation of why Pepco's not having an issue and you're having an issue. The reality is that you're having a problem. And what I'm interested in is making sure that the company is less concerned about having a sort of an excuse for why there's a problem and much more a commitment to fixing the problem.
Yeah, with all due respect, Commissioner Suchman, I understand that we want to emphasize the solutions, and we offered that. We've committed to addressing these problems. But on several times today, there's been the suggestion that this is a BGE systemic problem. And I have to say that we're trying to do the right thing here, because I'm sure the commission wouldn't want BGE to take the approach of simply focusing on the wait times and connecting with customers quickly and rushing them off the phone and not resolving their problem. I mean, we're going above and beyond to try to address the customer's issues, to offer all of these resources. And I think the commission wants us to do that. And I don't want that to be lost upon people in this room, and I feel like it is.
No,
That
I
we're
think-
seeing this as if BGE has a systemic problem, which is the term that's been used.
Michelle, you
in
might
this-
have, but the problem is you might have a systemic problem. And I'm suggesting that as you continue to work through these issues, that you look internally to see if there's a problem there. I don't think that you want to close off those
Not
kinds
doing
of,
that.
and so I think we all want to row in the same direction. And all I'm suggesting to you is that you work, that you treat them as partners, OPC and CAD, but that you also don't close off the possibility that there are things that need to get fixed, but you haven't seen them yet. You haven't focused on those. It may not, as Commissioner Linton had suggested, you may not be able to fix this problem by just hiring people. There may be more problems that need to be addressed, and that's why I think you need to you need to spend as much time in fixing this as you would in fixing problems on the distribution system. They're just as important. So
Commissioner
that's-
Suchman, if I may just
Yes,
respond briefly.
please.
So the BGE has said they've addressed this problem already. Our position is they haven't addressed this problem. It's still an outstanding issue, and that's why we think it's necessary for BGE to file their corrective action plan publicly with the commission and to file publicly the information that we've requested. And
Okay,
until that
and what is BG's reaction to the OPC request of filing a corrective action plan? Okay.
Let me get the
Yeah.
Mr. Linton. And,
Yeah, no,
I'll come from circle
yes.
on that one.
So you can think about that. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I guess I thank you for People's Council for your comments today. It's good to see you again. It's been a little while. I stated earlier that I'm a bit skeptical that the solutions we've heard today are going to address the challenges in front of us right now. And the reason why I'm saying that is because of partly in part because of what we just heard today from People's Council, that they heard calls from customers today. And so we have what we know the environment to be at this moment is that we're going to see an increase in calls. And so the volume of calls is going to increase. And so, People's Council, you're currently the ones on the hot seat. So, you've proposed that the utility file a corrective action plan in 15 days, as well as responses to some of your data requests. But at the same time, you've also suggested that customers literally called you today with these problems of attempting to reach the company and being unable to do so in a satisfactory manner. And so my question to you is that enough? I mean, if they propose a corrective action plan in 15 days, that's 15 more days. We're now at we're through December. We're now into January. We have then an opportunity for everybody to review the corrective action plan, look at it, take a look, offer comments, more review after that. And now we're into sometime in February. And if we're still getting calls right now, today, from customers, what is the corrective action plan going to accomplish?
So it may not solve the problem entirely, Commissioner,
And
but
that's for this point, for purposes of the notice that is in front of us today, is to address the issue in front of us right now.
that's true. And we believe that the first step in that process is filing a corrective action plan and the metrics that we've requested. Because right now, there's an information asymmetry, and we don't have all the information we need to be able to make an informed decision on some of the issues and the topics before the Commission now.
Right. And additionally, Commissioner Linton, BG has already said that it is taking some steps. And it sounds like those might be more immediate than what might appear in a corrective action plan. So the other option may be for the Commission to affirmatively order those steps that BGE has stated that it's already taking to get that moving, and then focus on what else comes out of the corrective action plan. We did assume that, of course, BG has been thinking about this for some time, so we even thought about, originally we thought maybe 30 days. We thought, no, we can't wait that long, and we suspect they're already thinking of a response to this. Maybe a week is appropriate. I don't know how long it would take them to write such a plan, but maybe the interim measure is to order some things that they've said that they're already doing.
So they've come here today, and they've offered some solutions, some things that they said they were going to implement in order to address the challenge in front of us right now. I appreciate that your review and your proposal for the corrective action plan might have been prepared before this morning. So now that you've had a chance to hear what they're looking to offer as their solution, again, for the problem in front of us right now, what's your response to that? Is that satisfactory for the People's Council, or do you think they need to do something else?
So I would request and prefer that they file those proposals, whatever they may be, in writing, so we have an opportunity to review them. They sounded reasonable, but we still would like to see within 15 days a corrective action plan and the response to the metrics that we requested in our letter.
And Commissioner Linton, I might add, I think there was reference to sometimes Saturday callbacks are optional, or I believe it was sometimes or occasionally. It seems to me like that would be a common sense measure. People who work often lower paying jobs have inconsistent schedules sometimes, and off hours, right? They're not always during business hours where they can make a phone call, and those are the people that are most at risk of being terminated. So maybe it would be appropriate that seems to OPC. We don't have much information except what we heard today, but weekends seem a bit common sense, right? To serve customers on the weekends, so it's not 2 days where a customer can get no help, especially with the cold that we're experiencing.
Okay. I'll stop there, Mr. Chairman. I'll note that the company is structurally different from just about all of our other utilities in the state. So I can appreciate that there are some distinguishing elements between what happens to you versus what happens to other Exelon companies. Clearly, you have gas, for example, is one difference. But at the same time, my skepticism is primarily in the fact that we know customers are having challenges literally today, and have been having challenges, and you haven't told me otherwise, since May of this year. So this is a challenge that we know we're going to see with higher volumes over the next 4 to 8 weeks and throughout the rest of the winter. And we need to have a solution that we know we can rely on and customers can rely on, that can be implemented far faster than what we're talking about right now. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping to hear and looking forward to hearing. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, just to sort of complete the record on this, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about Pepco, but has there been any similar issues with either PE or Delmarva or Smeco?
No, I haven't heard any.
Okay. So I'm going to want the company to respond to what People's Council specifically asked you to do. But before we do that, I want to give staff an opportunity in case they have some additional suggestions, then you can react to both. So, Mr. Spivak, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Hoover. Good afternoon to you and the commissioners. And thank you for the opportunity to comment on this issue. I will keep my comments brief. Let me say from the outset that the call center operations are a critical utility function. Customers being unable to reach BG's call center to speak to a person that can resolve an issue with their service or account is a serious problem and one that could have very serious consequences. Not least of these is the possibility raised in the Commission's notice and Ms. Bolton's presentation that a customer's service could be terminated unnecessarily because they were unable to speak to someone at BG's call center to prevent it. Staff is currently reviewing the information that BG has provided in response to the Commission's data request and will probably seek further information from the company. We're also reviewing this in concert with our analysis of BG's recently announced reduction in force. So we are, I will say, I'm glad to have heard today that the reduction in force will not be applying to the customer service operations. We do expect we'll report any findings and recommendations to the Commission following our investigation or in compliance with any deadlines that you establish. And as OPC has requested and noted, Washington Gas's call center had similar issues several years back, and Washington Gas was required to develop and file a corrective action plan. And since then, they've been required to file quarterly reports detailing the performance of their call centers under a variety of metrics. I was going to suggest that the Commission might consider imposing similar requirements on BGE, but OPC has already flat out asked that the Commission do so, and certainly we would support that request.
So,
and that's really all we have to add at the moment.
So, any questions for staff? All right, so do you want to respond to the suggestions that have been made?
Yeah, sure, Chair Hoover. Frankly, the letter that OPC mentioned, it was sent to, looks like my colleague and not me, so I haven't had an opportunity to fully review all the requests, but the request was made before OPC, and as staff council just mentioned, before they reviewed the information that we provided to CAD and to the Commission. And so I think it would be premature to direct us to provide additional information without the parties first reviewing the substantial information we have already provided. The other thing I'll say, Chair, is as I understand the filings that's being requested, they don't accomplish anything. This proceeding this morning is being recorded. There is a record of all the things that BGE says it's going to implement to do. Having the company take the time to put a filing together, it's inefficient. And frankly, the same team that's responsible for managing the call center are going to be the same team that has to take the time out of their day to do these compliance filings, respond to these questions from OPC, and it's inefficient. And I hope that the Commission can appreciate this, because it's not just this proceeding that where we're being asked to do compliance filings and respond to data requests. And I don't want us to lose sight of the fact that we have a certain number of people who can respond to all these requests. Just yesterday alone, Chair, I, as one attorney, had to respond to 4 separate data requests, 4 separate proceedings. That's just one attorney alone. And we're asking the same individuals to be able to put together these compliance filings. So I don't think there is any efficiency in directing the company to put some plan together. That it would just be reiterating what we said today. And then in terms of the data that's being sought, we've already provided a substantial amount of data already to both the commission and CAD.
All right. So, well, all right, go ahead.
So I'll just note that the data provided to us by BGE yesterday at 4 p.m., we did review in part, and it frankly raised more questions than it did provide answers. And so we still think the information we've requested is necessary, and we think it's important in order to have a solution to the problem that all parties can account for and are a part of.
And Chair, the last thing I'll say on the issue is that it is the commission's responsibility to regulate BGE, not OPC, not staff. And at the end of the day, if the commission feels that there is something additional it wants the companies to do with respect to this issue, it can. My understanding is that there's no active litigated proceeding going on. This was a notice to appear, and we've provided the information that the commission asked us to provide. If the commission wants us to provide additional information, obviously we will comply.
If I could just add, so I shared with you all of the information about what the issue was. So I have full commitment to fix what's going on, and we will fix it. If the actions that we're taking in place, we're going to put them in place. We're going to make sure that we fix the issue. We're here to answer any question that you have. I don't think necessarily it has to be, I'll leave that up, but your point about continue to interact with OPC, your point about continue to act with CAD, I'd love to continue to do that. Let's share with you what's going on. Let's have those conversations. We're all in this for the same issue. We want to fix this issue. I believe we have identified what the cause is, and I also believe we have identified solutions to put in place that are going to make a significant, meaningful difference and improve it.
All right, so this is what we're going to do. The suggestions that you have made regarding increase in personnel and those, we want you to just go ahead and implement that. To the extent that you pick up on any of the suggestions that were made by folks up here and at the table, do that too. In line with your question about what's the most efficient way to do this, we are going to be issuing a directive to you for follow-up action. That may include more information from you, and it may actually include some actions that we decided that you should take, even if you're going to take them on your own, and that'll be issued relatively quickly because of the time frame, although I am mindful of the holidays coming up. So expect something from us relatively shortly that'll incorporate all the suggestions that have been made to us today, but my immediate request is that you go ahead and pursue the suggestions that you offered today for the problem, but be prepared to do more when you hear from us. So